Oh, hello. Wow. Look, it's you. It's also me. Wow. I forgot to queue up that this. It's a good thing that we now use this reactive image thing so that when I fuck up, unless I say something, uh, those of you who are not in our Discord at least, uh, you would never know that I fucked up with, posting the link to the show. So yeah. Anyway. Hello. Good evening. Good evening. I'm hoping for. Nope, I did not get an email that I've been looking for. So that's cool. But yeah. Yeah, if only someone heard all that. Hey Draco Kraken, what's up? Shut up! Don't be so mean! Anyway. Yeah, how's it going? I, I'm waiting for the boys. Boo might be a little late, which is fine. I don't know where Aiden is. We did some vampire this evening. This afternoon, really. It didn't hit evening until, like 5, I want to say. I don't remember is it 5 or 6 that's actually considered evening? Regardless, we had an evening. The start of an evening. Vampire is going great. I'm having a great time. I'm hoping that the boys are too. They say they are, so I must believe. But yeah. Tomorrow I'm gonna be doing, editing. It's been a hot minute since I've done an editing stream. So, I figured that it's probably a good idea to actually do one. You know? Probably. And I have a question as well. Did anybody else just randomly get Half-Life 2 Episode 1 just in their Steam inventory as like a gift from Steam? Because I did, and I don't understand why they did that. They gifted it to me, and I'm sitting here like I've owned all of Half-Life for a long time. You know? So, I don't know. Average DM, did you have a good time? Players, yes. DM, but did you really? Exactly. They made Half-Life free? Why did they send me a copy of it then? To gift? I mean, glad that it's free. Ah, Half-Life 2 RTX is also free. Or it's going to be free? Sure. I'm probably not going to play that because Half-Life is fine. But I don't have like a big, big thing for it. It's, it's a fine game. I never finished the first one. I played the second one, like twice. It was pretty good. To be fair, I've never owned it. Well, fair enough. Then there you go. Now you can play it. I've seen people play it. I've seen mods about it and stuff. I don't know. But yeah, welcome back to Table Talk, Discussion, and Discourse. I, as always, am your host, Alejo, aka Great95, alone for now, but not for long, hopefully. We shall see. Let me drink the rest of my tea. There we go. I was really excited just now until I looked in chat and saw free instead of 3. Hello, Entropy. There you go. Fair enough. Yeah, so tonight we have a few things going on. Few topics to go through. Hey, and I wanted to also bring up that I'm going to be hopefully getting the 40k stuff out for all of our reaction to, or at least my reaction, I guess, because mine and Boo's, because we both hadn't seen the game yet, to a lot of stuff in Space Marine 2, as well as the entire game of like the story and stuff. I haven't played Operations for a little bit, but you know, time and stuff. So that'll be coming soon. I've actually got the first part rendering right now, and then the other stuff will render potentially not tomorrow or later. We'll see. I'm not sure. Hey Timothy, how's it going? Hello Veridi. Welcome. And hello Shin. Good to see you. So yeah, that's a thing. And yeah, hello. Also, I see Dave in there. Wait. I wanted to also say, I noticed today that Peter's playtest material for his actual game is out, which I have to remember to go and get, for, Tales of Elsewhere. So, that's exciting. I gotta get that. I gotta get that stuff. So that we can play it at some point. But yeah, so we played some Vampire today. I felt pretty good about it. The way that, you know, Vampire and stuff is going, it's been nice and full of roleplay, and that's really all I want, you know? And it's been a good time. I'm sure that, I don't know if any of you know, but our fourth, aka Brogan, aka No Nat Ones, is currently doing his No Nat November, is what he's calling it. And he's been streaming like every day for like 12 hours. It's crazy. He's just been going, which is great. I'm hoping to get on stream with him on Monday and play Payday with him. Payday 2. Not Payday 3, that doesn't exist, I promise you. So yeah, that's exciting. But yeah, he's been doing like a subathon. Hello, Pizza Funk. He's been doing a subathon, and so he yeah, every time somebody like subs to him or something, he like extends the timer. So or gives him money or something. I don't remember. Subs and money, I think, like donations. So he's probably gonna go throughout the entire month of November, which is hysterical to me. And I want him to keep going forever. So not to plug him, I guess, but there you go. One other thing, as Brogan must be tired. Well, I think he's actually having a great time. He's not doing it like 24 hours, you know? He's not doing what I did every day. But he's getting sleep and stuff. He's doing all right. One other thing to talk about in housekeeping terms is, so I tried to figure out the Humble Bundle thing, because we are partnered with Humble Bundle, and we have been for a while, but I don't know how they're doing the partnership program, in the sense of, I've got the thing pulled up, I have everything ready, but I don't know what like my ID is or anything. So I sent them an email, and I was really hoping that I would get that back before we started tonight. But yeah, we still aren't currently like technically earning anything under their banner. So not to say that you should stop supporting Humble Bundle at the moment. Just to say that the link doesn't work, so I'm going to take it out of the show notes here. But regardless, hoping that they can get back to me and fix that up, because I like telling people about Humble Bundle. I like saying, hey, there's a lot of cool bundles and stuff on the site, a lot of TTRPG stuff, and I'll still do it even if we're not like allowed, quote unquote, to be partnered anymore. But it's not going to be like something that we can get financial compensation for or give like to a specific charity, I guess, anymore. Through that compensation. So I don't know, but you know, it's whatever. Humble Bundle. Who are you again? Exactly. Should have sent you something if they changed anything. They did. So I that's what I'm saying. I followed the link and everything, and it's asking for ID that I don't know what it's talking about, so I sent them a message. Is there any way I can get an arrogant bundle instead? Never. No, not allowed. Anyway. So, while we still wait for the other two, I guess we'll get going, huh? Maybe Aiden fell asleep. I don't know. It's possible. But I know Boo will be here later. So, yeah. Anyway. Unless I hear otherwise. It could happen. Anyway. Oh, I can do that. That way I can see that the whole time. The wonders never cease. Oh my god. Okay. So let's talk about the topics tonight. As you've seen in the title and the thumbnail, I assume, we are going to be going over some... oh, why is it not? Oh, okay. Aha, that would make sense. That's why it doesn't come up. We are going to go over an underrated skill. By the way, I don't know if that's technically a correct spelling of underrated. I remember I did something like that when I was real young, so now I must find out if this is true. Underrated. Spelling? No, that is! Oh my god. Wow. When I was younger, I knew how to spell better. Okay, cool. Good to know. I didn't realize there wasn't a space. But anyway. I'll fix that in the future for the actual thing. Anyway, how has Aiden been? He's been good. Yeah, he's been good. He was in the vampire game, so and we talked a bit. He's good. He should be coming on, I hope. I don't know. Anyway, so this underrated skill makes a huge difference in D&D from DM Timothy. We covered DM Timothy once before. It was something I can't remember entirely. So I'm going to do the cheat of looking through our content and searching in the description for DM Timothy. And it was pretty... Oh, right, yes! Was it the alternatives to running, or was it the individual wounds thing? I think it was the alternatives to running. Yeah, it was the fleeing doesn't work thing. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I remember now. That was weird. But let's see what he's got this time around, because apparently there's an underrated skill that that makes a huge difference. The guy with my name that looks like fake Brogan. That's true. Alright, here we go.
I suck at this skill, which is why when I audited another DM's game and offered feedback, it stood out how good they were at it. I'm talking about dialogue in combat, and there is a surprising amount of depth to the reasons why this is an important skill for us to manage, no matter how underappreciated it is.
Okay, so first off, dialogue in combat. Fair enough. That's an interesting thing to go for. Yeah, it's kind of tied to performance, Dave. In the sense that I guess while you're fighting, you would be, role playing and such. Or you're always role playing, to be fair, but I guess just talking. Which I guess, yeah, I don't necessarily think about it much, in the sense of doing a lot of talking during a combat, because there's there's a little it doesn't feel like there's a lot of time, right? I'm glad you paused it on that frame, thank you. Guy is really rocking that 3-camera setup. Yeah, that seems to be his thing, which is fair. It's a little distracting to me, but we've just started, so I won't get too upset about it. But yeah, I personally, I don't like, yeah, you can talk during a combat and everything, that's fine. Usually it's only for a few sentences or something, because it's a combat usually. There's not a lot of time to do a lot of chatter, unless somebody has that like time and ability, I guess, during the combat. So I'm not entirely sure how necessary it is, I guess, is my thought. It can definitely spice things up. I mean, a good line here or there can definitely spice up the ambience, right? I would imagine, just, hearing hearing the enemy starting to maybe taunt, or do something to try to throw the PCs off in some way, I would assume is what we're really referring to, but I'm not sure.
And, thankfully, a number of different ways that we can go about trying to improve it. For a long time, there's been kind of a debate between the realism camp and the entertainment camp when it comes to combat dialogue. Essentially, realists are of the opinion that if you are talking a whole bunch in combat, that you're taking away from the actual feel of a fight and how it should go, whereas the entertainment camp are perhaps willing to sit through long combat soliloquies in order to have a anime-like monologuing feel to their game because they think it's fun and they don't really care about the whole realism thing.
Okay, had never heard of this before in the terms of it being an issue, I guess. Which is, I mean, I'm sure it is to some people. It really depends on the tone that you're going for, right? Like, I don't think there's a right answer, as with a lot of things. I don't think there's a right answer whether or not you should have these big dialogue moments in your combat or not. I personally don't think about it, as I've stated. So I probably wouldn't have that happen unless it was part of an attack, Like, I could imagine myself, like, playing a character that's doing a multi-attack of some sort in the D&D terms, and as he's coming up, he's starting to talk to the character, and just keeps going on as each sword swing kind of hits into the character's form, I guess, and then maybe one like clatters off the armor, and but he continues just the assault of saying words the entire time to try to drive the point into the player's head that it doesn't matter what you're doing or whatever, just trying to upset them, to make them think less tactically, because I think there's a place for that for sure, but I don't see I don't see there being a problem with like 2 to 3 sentence calls and responses during a combat either, because I don't know, that also just feels in the moment natural. And we did Devils and Dice, which was very much more anime-esque, right, in its campaign structure and everything. And I don't think I ever really questioned it if there was going to be a big soliloquy or whatever, right? I don't think there's any problem, right? So I don't know. It's not that big of a deal, right? Because again, that was in that moment, that campaign, it made sense for it to be happening because it was anime inspired, right? So I don't know. A lot of things just felt like they fell into place, but for something for something that's more quote unquote grounded, I guess, maybe it would feel more out of place. And in that instance, I feel like, at least for our group, we wouldn't be doing it as much, right? That reminds me to show Brogan this guy and see if he sees what we see. I might. Imagine letting players talk for 6 seconds per turn, and they have to stop mid-sentence when time's up and pick it back up on their next turn. Tactical speaking. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I remember when I started playing, our DM, Aiden was in the group with me. Our DM was like, okay, so you have 6 seconds, you can have 6 words, you know, or a full sentence, but it can't be like 10 words or more or something like that, you know? Like it was so that we thought about, if we had to say something, we had to think about it, you know? Which is hard to do in the moment, right? So that's just how we did it, right? I don't know. It makes sense to me to do it both ways. Doesn't matter. Realism can be silly too, apparently. Well, yeah, sure. I can have my characters talk during combat a lot, so maybe I'm biased. Yeah, sure. I don't see there being an issue with it. Do whatever you want, really.
I've always sort of fell more into the realism camp than into the entertainment camp, but I think that there is quite a spectrum of room there for us to set the sweet spot for our particular games. And having seen it in play at a few different tables with different DMs, I have to say that I think that I'm starting to lean much more towards the middle than I used to. And there's a number of reasons why I think that combat dialogue is a super important skill.
I would love to hear one.
Doesn't necessarily apply to every combat, but just as in modern games, combat should generally be driving you towards the story that you're trying to tell. Combat dialogue also has that opportunity to tell a little bit more of the story. We learn a little bit about the participants, we learn a little bit about what might be coming next. If our opponents and villains and minions are talking during the fight and telling us useful things, it's an opportunity for us to push the story forward just a little bit by showing the relationships that are involved and or by offering threats that deliver a little bit of information in the sort of villain monologuing style, even if we keep it nice and brief in order to lean a little towards the realism camp. But
okay. I agree. That's definitely something you can utilize it for. I guess the problem can obviously come from if you utilize it in a way that's telling too much, you know? It's good for... Oh, hello!
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
Good. You've come at a perfect time.
Good.
We have just reached the first point in the video.
Okay. We just need to get into the watch together.
Yes. So we're talking about, this video is called "This Underrated Skill Makes a Huge Difference in D&D," and the skill he's talking about is speaking or having dialogue in combat.
Oh, okay. So not an actual skill, just a player.
It's kind
skill.
It's a skill for the DM and the players, but he's talking more from a DM perspective.
Yeah, what I meant is like it's not a skill that you make checks on. It's just
yes, exactly. Right now he's talking about the utilization of it to give more story elements or all that kind of stuff. To really amp it up a little bit in that way, while a combat is going on. And before that, he was talking about how there's kind of two camps of like realism versus entertainment, which makes sense enough. I can understand that could be a thing, but I don't really care. It just depends on the feel of the game, right? Like,
yeah, right.
It's what you're going for. But what I was saying is that if you do the combat or the dialogue in combat, you have there's a potential problem if you technically tell more than you show, in a way, because like, yeah, you can utilize it for telegraphing, right? That's a way to do it, in order to make it so that attacks make more sense to the characters and all that kind of stuff. Or potentially if you want them to, well, I guess that would be another sort of kind of telegraphing thing, but to indicate another phase, or to try to just give them more information about the combat, really.
Yeah.
With the story potential, I was saying this before, I see, like, during a big attack, so there's multi-attacks, and my example was, the adversary of the time is going in on a character, and, like, going in, just starting to do his spiel, while then just swinging his sword, and with every strike kind of emphasizing, and and even if he doesn't necessarily land a strike or anything, just continues to like taunt and really like drive points into the player's mind, or I'm sorry, the character's mind. Something like that could be used, and then potentially you could let things slip, quote unquote, in the sense of maybe some hints for a story or something, and then maybe make it so that the characters might want to, instead of kill the person, to take them capture, or make it so that some characters want to do that while others get enraged, have a little bit of that conflict inside the party a little bit. But that's just all I've got right now.
Yeah, and yes,
exactly, right?
Yes.
I hope this guy doesn't give himself whiplash. Yeah, he's looking back and forth through the cameras and stuff. I bet he's a safe driver, always checks his mirrors, as you should. What is realism in this case? Just making no noise, rolling dice to punch someone makes the realism point sound silly? No, the realism point is not having giant soliloquies, basically. Just having combat have, you can have dialogue, but it's like a sentence or two, maybe. Like it has to be enough time to basically go in your turn order. Which
you have to think about, in D&D, the turns are 6 seconds,
exactly,
roughly.
Yes.
So you can't have like you can't say 10 seconds worth of words in 6 seconds.
Exactly. Which again, it's something that I'm used to, because when I started, it was 6 words or less, is what our DM said, if you wanted to say something to somebody else in combat. So, I'm fine with it, but I also see the place for longer stuff if your DM allows it, and if the feel works for it. Like, it really depends. A good duelist knows how to drive points into their opponent's mind and their body too. That is true. All right.
Perhaps more important in my mind is the second reason, which is how combat dialogue helps to take what is by force a mechanically crunchy portion of our Dungeons & Dragons game and bring it down into more of a narrative experience. By speaking in combat and having those conversational quips, even if it's just insults hurled back and forth, we help to ground people in the narrative of the combat that's happening, instead of just paying attention to the d20 here and the damage roll there that are being rolled repeatedly throughout the game. Bringing
that does make sense, because it can be something that does happen when you get through, like when you're in a combat for way too long, right? You'll start to just pay attention to the combat, right? You just want it to be over, the mechanics. You're like, I just want to roll my die. I just want to do my attack. I just want him to die. Please, 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 please.
Yes.
Which is fine. And keeping it fresh with different ways of having a dynamic combat, or this as well, of having it so that narration is happening during it, right? Like, or I guess it doesn't even need to be narration, it's just dialogue. But you just have dialogue going on so that you can say, oh yeah, okay, while we're fighting, we're saying shit to each other, though. Saying that, I guess it's, let me look at it one more time, because where is it? Okay. Amidst mechanical play, to bring it so that the crunchy, quote unquote, section is more a narrative, right? Yeah. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. It is really just to try to keep the combat fresh, really.
Yeah.
I think.
Just keep it flowing smoothly and maintain entertainment.
Exactly. Let's see. I would my horse had the speed of your tongue. Exactly. Of course, you can figure that the characters are speaking Common, not English. 6 seconds of English isn't necessarily 6 seconds of Common, so you can probably handwave dialogue length a bit. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, that's why it's like two or like a sentence or two. That one I'm much more like, yeah, that's fine. You don't have to be like 6 words. That's fine. You know, it is what it is at the end of the day. However you want it to be. So, you know, don't worry about it too much. Well, I would think that that would be worked out from the start, how they want to talk during combat, unless someone does a novel reading out of nowhere. Yeah, I guess. I don't think I've ever thought about the speaking during combat thing during, like, before a game, right? It's more just been when we get into a game. That's when it matters, I guess. And at that point, it's like, somebody asks the question, usually, of like, okay, how much can I talk during combat, basically? It always comes up because you don't think about it until then. And then, because it doesn't necessarily matter as much until it actually happens, at least in my mind. But at that point, then you basically just decide it, and then everybody kind of goes with it. And again, it seems more like whatever you want the feel of your game to be. That's the one that we all just like agree on. And usually it's just whenever the DM says, "No, it's like a sentence," or "Oh yeah, you can say a little bit. You're all right. I'll cut you off when your turn is over." You know, that's how it goes, and then everybody goes okay, because nobody has pushback usually for that. Something very easy that we can all agree on.
Repeatedly throughout the game. Bringing people out of the mechanics and into the world is almost always the primary focus of good dungeon mastery. A third thing that can be useful for combat dialogue is how it will help us to foreshadow inside of combat. If you're ever looking for a way to just simply level up your combat, all it takes is to tell your players a couple of initiatives ahead what is going to be happening. The raised axe for a deadly swing on a person, the beginnings of spell casting with a trace of fire around the fingertips of the person casting, anything that gives those little hints to your players as to what is coming next is a great combat addition in order to enhance the feel of the game and give more meaningful choices.
Right. It's not necessarily the dialogue that does that, it's more the description, really. A lot of the time. But yeah, literally using it as what I said, foreshadowing, or why I can't even remember the word that I used before, but yeah, that. That thing, you know.
The thing you said.
Yeah. We talked about it a little bit. Okay.
And combat dialogue is another tool that makes that incredibly possible, as the leader of the group might identify themselves by calling out commands to various people upon the field.
Sure.
They might tell somebody to go and get reinforcements, which more than any kind of action is going to spur people into switching targets to the guy who's running for the next room full of bad guys. Or it might be as simple as calling for an extra quiver of arrows, or asking somebody to throw the healing potion over, or telling them who that they should be attacking so that the group will target together. Having those opportunities for dialogue to tell the tactics that are going to take place gives your players a lot of information to work with and makes a lot of narrative sense. And that's...
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? Like, there's nothing more that you can really say about it. Make your players aware of the situation that they are in. Like, as much as possible. You want to give them as much information as they can readily have. In any sort of role-playing thing. Doesn't matter if it's combat or not. But especially in this way. I guess I never think of dialogue in that way, because in that sense, it's just like, that's just happening, right? You know, it's less of I'm providing the dialogue for characters, and more, well, they are doing this. You hear this, right? And hell, you can tell so much about the characters, or sorry, the NPCs that way, in the sense of if you're using different languages that they might not recognize, or if you're they're doing different kinds of hand gestures that they might start to recognize, over time, of like, oh, this means this, this is coming, or that's what they're trying to do. It seems like this is what's going on, or whatever. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with just simple descriptions of dialogue as well as actions, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah. Toss me. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's kind of the fourth item on the list of reasons why dialogue's awesome as well, and that's that it takes the tactics that your monsters are using from out-of-character realm and grounds them into a role-played perspective. Even if it's just dialogue a la a growl, a snarl, and eyes narrowing towards somebody, the words of "you'll pay for that" from a certain creature, or anything of that ilk, it helps to ground the group, and it tells the tactics that they're going to use from the perspective of their characters instead of from this God's eye third-person view up in the sky looking down upon what's happening. But of course, since I kind of suck at this skill, the big question is how can we improve?
Okay, so before we get to that, yeah, I mean, so I don't know if maybe it's more of a problem for other people, but I don't really think about the different perspectives in that way of like I'm looking at it from above or I'm looking at it from my character's perspective. It just kind of all flows together usually. The information is very much just present, and I can then just go into whatever I need, I guess, in that moment, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just because of the way that we play stuff and such, and like what I've done from like tactics games and shit, and just, I don't know, video games have really just been that thing of like, oh, I've been in like every perspective and I can kind of just see that, whenever I need to. Not to say that that's anything special, I'm just saying that just in general, it seems like that helps,
Yeah, we just have experience in being in all those different perspectives.
Exactly. And so I can kind of imagine each of those scenarios pretty easily if I need to. And so I don't know. I'm sure that, again, it's useful for some people to use that to then, instead of have them look at, maybe it's that whole drawing like a battle map out and such, and having that be on like a 2D plane. And that kind of makes you, like you were talking about this before, of like having that be the perspective that you view it from rather than a 3D perspective, right?
Yes.
It might be like that, and really trying to make it so that you're not necessarily forcing, but the same kind of way, just making it so that people are aware that their character is looking at this perspective from the first person, and it's like, oh god, when somebody is like in their face spitting spittle into their like eyes when they're yelling at them and just bringing a sword down,
Yeah.
Maybe that really helps, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, good, I guess. Yeah.
Of course, since I kind of suck at this skill, the big question is how can we improve?
I guess what my question from the beginning is just, how do you suck?
Yeah, that seems kind of weird.
Like, I do you just not narrate things during the combat in a way that is all of this, in the sense? Like, so he was saying in the beginning that he came from a more realism perspective and is kind of now in the middle, right, of entertainment versus realism, right? As he continues on. And like, I'm not sure, I guess I don't know what that is in relation to if you suck at doing it the more entertainment way rather than the more realism way.
I guess.
Or is it just that you don't do either of the things? you know?
Yeah.
I need, I hope he'll give an example, but
yeah, I also kind of need to know exactly what he means by that in saying, like, oh, I suck at this. How you suck at which one
which
and
aspect,
in what way?
yes. So I guess, you know, I've paused him before, and I'm hoping that he'll go into it, but yeah, let's see.
And so here's a couple of things that I have tried, am trying, or intend to try.
Okay.
The first is as simple as writing combat dialogue on a sticky note and slapping it on the inside of my DMing screen.
Oh, okay.
And creating a little 3x5 that just has dots lined up on it for combat dialogue that I can run an X through every time one of my monsters or creatures says something in the midst of initiative. It's a proven fact that what we track is what we improve, and so I'm going to track combat dialogue in order to improve at it. And then
Sure, I mean, that's a way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. If that helps you
make a list, you know.
make a list of you know, make some you know, oh, what the hell is the term?
Quips.
Yes, quips, or, you know, just programmed dialogue. There we go.
Yeah, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, lists are what get me through names a lot of the time. And
me too.
This current one that I had to make a name for, I thankfully just came up with one that wasn't on my list. But
well done.
Thank you. But the list has helped a lot, for sure. It doesn't help me thinking of names
Every
necessarily. Time. Yeah, it's more just the reference for it rather than coming up with it naturally, I guess.
But I mean, hey, it's just a name, really.
Yeah, exactly. And
it is an appropriate, good sounding name that isn't like Bob or Bobina.
Bobbert.
Yes.
Yeah. But like, I guess I don't know how effective it would be for me to learn to come up with names better on the fly because of this, right? With that, like having those pre-programmed, as you put it, responses, I feel like it would be easier to drill in the pre-programmed responses, and then potentially you could come up with more. But you would definitely have those ones down on, and it might...
You'd have those ones down pat, at least.
Yeah, and
it's good practice.
Yeah, exactly. It might lead to you only having those, you know, potentially, which is not necessarily, you know, inherent, but it could be a problem that you should probably be aware of. Right?
Yeah, I would say that if you have the desire to improve, it won't wind up being that. You'll eventually want to overcome that.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the being self-aware of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Camera angle right here is really a gift that keeps on giving. Oh, the other one? Yeah, the side one. Yeah. The Virgin Roberta versus the Chad Bobina. True. True.
Next is to add a new list of 10 to my preparation. Having ripped lists of 10 wholesale from Mike Shea over at Sly Flourish, this is just another inclusion into my prep that I'm going to work towards, of putting down 10 bullet points and quickly jotting out some combat dialogue that seems appropriate to encounters that the group are likely to come up against.
Okay.
I may not use any of these verbatim, but they'll give me an improv prompt to work from and let me cross them out as I use them so that I can see how useful some were or weren't, and I'll be able to improve this list by writing a fresh one every session for every campaign that I run, and it should only take me 5 minutes extra to be able to create them. Lists like that.
I think what you like, if you have a main villain or some sort of bigger adversary in the campaign that they're going to face at some point, just really working on that character and like figuring out their personality is really going to help you a lot with just getting into it and really coming up with more of that kind of quippy dialogue or whatever you want, whatever fits that character, right? Even if it's not dialogue and it's just like actions, right? Movement, even just however their fighting style is, you know. Anything that is unique to them, right? And of course you could put down a bunch of cue cards, I guess, of their dialogue if they were to get into certain situations, but my and using it as specifically for reference, as he said, for improv, rather than for specific situations, because you are not going to come up with every situation. It is not going to happen. In fact, it's folly to think that you would come up with the exact situations your players might throw at you, unless they are tried and true, only do like 3 things, right?
Yes.
Which is fine, but at the same time, it's just like having the prompts, as he put it. That's a better idea. Better to say something like that to really make it so that it's more the improv rather than the checklist.
Yes.
Right. Let's see. Cool to learn Draconic, so I have the dragons in my lore speak it, although Alejo might not be able to read it. Well, yeah, that would probably be true. I can barely read as is. The good thing about Draconic is that you can just make it up. That is true. Just throw some magic-y sounding gibberish together. Also true.
This are just flat out invaluable. The third thing that I've done to improve my combat dialogue is added a space on my initiative tracker for dialogue specifically. Kind of like a lair action that always happens at initiative 20. At a certain point on my initiative, usually right around the middle, I'm going to include this spot that just tells me, say something. And at that spot, my monsters or creatures will...
Not a big fan of this one.
I'm kind of here or there on it, but it's just...
I like the spirit of it, you know?
Yeah.
It's just to remind yourself to have more dialogue, or at least just something to prompt more interest in the actual living and breathing narrative that's going on during combat, rather than have it be the mechanical aspect. Like, I'm good with that, but having it be a set time, I don't know. I guess you could start that way and hopefully transition out of it, right? But you don't want it to be really samey, you know? It's a hard thing to do, but I get if you're trying to improve yourself, starting with something that can at least get you to going on the point absolutely can help. But again, I don't know.
It's kind of eh.
Yeah, I feel like just having it in your head of reactionary to what's going on in the combat is better than a set time.
Yeah.
You need elemental saliva to properly speak Draconic without a bad accent? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Will have to have some kind of opportunity to speak up. If I include this in every combat, then I know that I'll at least speak up once a round to improve my combat dialogue from where it's at. If it comes naturally and is easy for you to do so when these prompts come up, then you can include multiple of them, or even include them at the end of every monster's turn or the like, but just having that extra little reminder to speak.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so... So, like, I'm all for the idea. I'm all for the idea of speaking more during combat. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know. This feels very checklisty to me, and I don't like that feeling. It doesn't inspire joy or confidence in me. I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to be against what he's saying, because if he's trying to improve and he's doing a bunch of tactics to get himself to that point where he doesn't need to use these things anymore, I get that. I really do. It just, like, I want there to be more than just talking, you know, described.
Like actions as well?
Yeah, I feel like we're really snoozing on the fact that we can say a lot with, like, body language. You know, body language, positioning, just facial expressions, like all of the different things that we do to communicate with each other as human beings, right?
Yeah. But those don't apply here. He's talking about monsters.
Well, you know, you can make up weird stuff for your monsters to do, right?
That's true.
Like, I just, like, it's a good practice to have, but we should expand it more into doing more than just I talk at you every time I end my turn, you know?
Yeah.
And again, I know this video is about the one thing, Believe me, I do. But I feel like the skill itself is rather, it should rather be, instead of doing dialogue during combat, it should be description during combat.
Or just in general roleplay during combat.
Yeah, really. Because again, I've said it many a time, but you are role playing in combat. It is a role playing thing that is happening at the same time. Everything in D&D or whatever you're doing is role play, and you can describe what you're doing easily, right? And that itself is role play. So once you get it into your head that anything that you're doing or anything that you're making other, like, your monsters and stuff do is role play, well, then you can start just describing a lot of shit. Anything, really. And that is just bringing people in to see, oh, the character, or the orc captain is, like, he's standing atop this hill. And you're watching as he's surveying each of the other orcs that he has issued orders to.
Are they sexy?
No. And well, I mean, to be fair, I don't know. I mean, it could be to you.
Well, no, you're playing Heat and Blood, right?
I know I am. But okay. Anyway, so he's issued orders to each of his underlings at this point, and he's surveying them, and you're watching as he studies each of their attacks and forms, and he seems to be judging them, and like then he'll find, like, he sees which one is doing the worst, and he goes down to help them, right? You give them so much, like he's seeing the other orc on the back foot, and he goes down to help them, and you've given that character a lot more depth because of just a simple description of he's looking over everybody and he's trying to figure out who he needs to actually go and help. You know, like, I don't know. And that's without words, right? That's with an action. That's with looks. That's it. So I don't know. It's just, I guess I struggle with these things that are more singularly focused a lot of the time, if they seem like they could be a broader topic that we could have a lot more conversation about, you know?
Which is fair.
So it's just like, I don't know, it would be more interesting of a video if we could really dive deep into that kind of stuff, I guess, to me.
Yeah, into just more things.
Yeah, because again,
because this is a very broad category.
Yeah, and like, again, he's not doing a bad job. I applaud what he's doing. I think it's good, like, beginner-friendly stuff to really help with that improvement stuff. But I don't know, maybe planting that idea a little bit more than the, like, a few things that he's put in there of, like, a couple of telegraphing. That's the word I said. Like, he said a little bit with the telegraphing thing, with the foreshadowing thing, as he put it. But I don't know, it sounded, again, more like in terms of dialogue rather than action.
So roleplay in general.
Yeah, like a specific form of roleplay rather than the broad form that we can really get a lot of shit out of. But again, that's just me. Some people prefer using checklists. Some people prefer organic development. Absolutely. That's the thing. I have no problem with how you do it. I have no problem if you need to do it one way or the other, or if you do it in multiple different ways. I'm just saying, I don't know. We can encourage more, right? I feel so.
Yeah, the method isn't the issue. It's the fact that the method is being used to really only account for just a very small portion of what you could be doing.
Yes, and again, I think that's more on my thinking rather than the terms of the video. It's not a fault of the video at all. I really want there to be more. The orcs are sexy to the other orcs. Okay, there you go. Yeah. We'll just go with that for sure.
Yeah.
Always a good bet.
Yes.
Speak up once or twice around, I think, is enough to elevate combat dialogue for me. The fourth option for combat dialogue improvement comes down to knowing the personalities of the monsters and NPCs that are going to engage in combat. That means preparing for those combats by preparing the personalities more deeply than you might otherwise. This can be tough when it feels like it's going to be a throwaway character that is only going to be portraying that personality during the middle of a fight. But if you can get a random list of 10 or 20 different quick personality traits with a quirk, an accent, and maybe a flaw or motivation, and then have those listed out and cross them off as you use them in combat, then you can provide a differentiator between Goblin number 1 and Goblin number 3, or the like, no matter how many opponents you have on the field, simply by trying to dive into this quick little list of personalities.
Yeah, I think, so I was bemoaning the checklist not long ago, but I think a checklist is not a bad idea to differentiate like a large group that is of jobbers, right?
Yes.
That's fine, you know, as long as they don't need to be too in-depth. I'm fine with you going, oh yeah, this one is greedy, oh, this one is, you know, like, wow, I've had the 7 dwarves, that's crazy, they all are, this one's sleepy, this one's a doctor.
Yeah. This one's racist.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, so...
Joke's on you, they were all racist.
All the time. Always was.
Oh my god.
But anyway, so, yeah, no, legitimately, I think that's fine for your know-nothing jobber characters. As long as you're spending the time for the ones that you actually really want to stick around and make an impact. Right? But the thing is, you can make those little jobbers make an impact afterwards, because they might not die. You never know.
Yeah.
Right? And then you've just got a basis for a new character that is part of the story.
Creating that extra work beforehand doesn't have to go to waste if you haven't assigned them to any specific creature, and then obviously for those NPCs and monsters who play a larger part in your story, you should be delving into their personalities anyway in order to make them as memorable and as real as possible. Fifth and finally, we can start to take a look at where combat dialogue makes sense.
Okay.
Not only in our games, but also in other media that we might be consuming. Some of the most likely spots are in situations where the tactics are going to change on the battlefield, moving from a all-out blitz to a defensive retreat, or vis-a-vis is obviously a point where communication between the participants is likely to happen. In every good action movie and in Dungeons & Dragons, when the action is building is a great time to include combat dialogue as well. Whether that's because there's reinforcements coming, or the second stage of a fight, or because somebody is in great danger, when the action builds, it's time to talk. Sometimes that's also because there is some form of natural pause created. When somebody is knocked back and prone, there's a natural opportunity for some kind of one-liner quip from the person doing the knocking. When somebody's disarmed or badly injured, there can feel like a natural pause where some kind of...
Okay.
What a weird stock video to use, but yeah,
that's fucking
I get
weird.
it. At least it conveys the idea.
Yeah.
Word exchange is plausible. Or when somebody is forced to dash forward in combat or use
Hey,
the dodge
there we go.
action and doesn't otherwise get to exert
Yes,
themselves
please.
in the usual swingy
It's so
fashion.
cool.
This is another natural pause where a little combat dialogue can elevate their action. And finally,
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's the thing. Again, you just don't want to do it too much, right? You don't want to do anything way too much. You don't want to make it so that it's expected for you to just have this happen over and over again every time that something is like, oh, you've knocked this guy down. He says word, right? Like I don't know. It is good to have. This is why I want to talk about the more than just dialogue options, because some characters might not talk a lot during combat. They might be focused, right? And then you have again, their body language, their actions that they're taking, the way that they are studying the characters, right, and trying to figure out where they need to be and all that stuff. You can try to convey that with like how they're observing every strike as they block it, or like I don't know, just more than just saying you're pretty good, aren't you?
Yeah.
like it's very anime, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But it has its place, right? Again, the feel of the campaign. If that was in Devils and Dice, and we like somebody knocked down Mez and just went, "Wow, you're pretty good, huh?"
Yeah, right.
I would have been like, "Oh yeah, okay, fair enough." Would have fired back my quip. Just
yeah, right.
But like I just in a lot of things, I don't know, it's just the importance of show don't tell is very much a thing, I think. In a lot of instances. Legitimately concerned that it's a surgical scar on his neck. I don't even see it. Oh, that?
Oh,
I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Just a simple head transplant, that's all.
Yeah.
True. Susan's no longer the person who owns YouTube, so it wasn't Susan.
Oh, really? Good. Thank fuck.
Oh, dude, it's worse than it's ever been. What do you mean?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she was pretty fucking awful.
Well,
so.
everyone has been, so I don't know. It just keeps going downhill. It's fine.
Yep.
Look for any moments where there's going to be that impactful scene that could have a real influence upon your player characters. Death scenes are some of the most classic examples of this, as the final words of the person who's already been defeated are uttered before they pass away. If you're like me and this is a skill that you want to work on, then pick up my after action template so that you can ask yourself after every fight whether or not you talked enough while you were having the stuffing knocked out of your monsters. This is it. You've officially watched all the way to the end and are now my favorite. If you want to do me a favor, then hit share or else watch this video next. Thanks so much for watching.
Sorry, or else?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The death scene is always like it's one of those things that I actually recently gave a character an opportunity to have a death scene if they wanted one. But at the time, they did not. It didn't seem to make sense in the moment because the sense of it was not them having any words to say or anything. It was just their action at the time. And it was more impactful that way, I think.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's Susan may be gone, but her spirit remains. If anything, it's gotten worse. Yeah, well, yeah.
Damn. Shame.
But yeah, so yeah, again, dialogue has its place, right? But I really and truly believe that if we utilize more than just dialogue, we'll have a lot more of that good, immersive, memorable moments and such, because I don't know, there's many a time where the action really is what you think of more than what a character has said.
Yeah.
But again, it depends on the character too. I don't want to force dialogue into a spot where it doesn't belong because the character themselves is not as verbose.
Much of a talker.
Yeah, exactly. It really depends on the moment. It depends on the feel of the campaign. It depends on a lot of different factors. But if you're trying to improve, these are definitely ways to do it, right? In this certain aspect, absolutely, these are ways to do it. Don't think that it's not. It's not a bad video. I was put off by the running away thing doesn't work video the last time we covered this channel, but it's good to see that this one's at least something that's okay. So, can't always be home runs, as Aiden would say. Yeah. Where is that guy?
I don't
know. Anyway. I'm your favorite senpai? Right, exactly. Whoa. Anyway. You got any more thoughts about speakings and stuff?
Not really. It's really just my thought that it should be more more role play in general and actions taken rather than just talking.
Yeah.
feel like if you are only thinking about, talking, you're kind of selling yourself short.
Yes. Yeah. I would
One
say
of my
so.
favorite things that I did in Devils and Dice was when you guys fought Lolifang in front of Tiamat.
Yeah.
And he had this thing where he's like the sneaky one.
Yeah.
And every time you hit him, he like recoiled and like shrieked in pain. And that was actually a bluff every time to make it so you would like close in.
Oh yeah.
Either out of concern, there's like, oh my god, I hurt this thing really bad, I'm sorry. Or like, haha, we have wounded him greatly, let us close in for the kill. But he was not actually damaged much at all, and he would get a free hit at you.
Yep. And that really speaks to that character. Exactly. Like, it's important, these things. It's important. I got so caught up speaking in combat that I can't rate the rest of the video because I didn't really pay attention. Well, there you go. Fair enough. Well, then, let's move on, hey? We have a second video tonight. It is... Here we go. Give it a second. Okay. Why not to use these 3 common homebrew rules?
Okay.
Brought to us by Thomas Finch, apparently. Or Fitch, excuse me, not Finch. Thomas Fitch. So yeah, apparently
Thomas
there's...
Fitch, more like Thomas Bitch.
Wow! I haven't even started.
Yeah.
But yeah, so apparently there are 3 common homebrew rules that people use that we should not be using, I guess. Not entirely sure about that, but we'll see.
I'm eager to hear which ones are the ones we shouldn't be using.
Yes, me too. No one talks during combat in Star Wars RPG. We just make blaster and lightsaber sounds. Hey, there you go. Yeah, good stuff. Option 3. Oh, we just wounded him pretty badly. Let's point and laugh. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Hello.
I love homebrew rules, and I adore all the lovely ideas that people float around. In general, a lot of the conversation surrounding homebrew rules online is a very positive one, and while that's nice, I feel like it leaves less than thorough thought. There can be lots of praise and excitement surrounding homebrew rules online.
So, I just want to stop you right there. I don't think there's a lot of purely positive things about homebrew rules at all. In fact, most of the time, I guess for a lot of videos there is, but like a lot of the time you see the ones that are like, oh, don't use these, or all that kind of stuff on YouTube a lot of the time, because negativity is the thing that goes real good because people want that.
Yes.
They want people to complain about shit and tell them that it's bad, and so that they can also go, no, wait, no, you know, this kind of mangas, it's true. But yeah, so. But I guess the like there's a lot of positivity for a lot of, I guess, creators that create homebrew rules, right? There's a lot of positivity for that kind of stuff because they usually think about it and they put them out there pretty well. But yeah, I don't know about any that are like not creator specific that are positively received a lot of the time, or at least gone over to such a degree that is very positive. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. To be fair, my YouTube recommendations have been shot to VTuber hell at the moment, which is fine with me.
Which one did you wind up watching to get
I started
to get that?
I found the HoloLive Holo Santos like compilations. I don't know if that
Santos.
They played GTA RP.
Oh god! Oh!
It was great.
Fair enough.
I had a great time watching that stuff, and so I started going down the rabbit hole again, and went, "Oh, look at all these!" And there's new ones now. Wow.
Yeah, there's tons.
Yeah,
it's insane. They're like a fucking virus.
It's fine with me because I only pay attention to like 1 or 2 here and there, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
and then see the group stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's more just the highlights that I watch anyway. I don't really watch them a lot, but Anyway.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, I see the highlights sometimes, and that's about it.
Yeah.
It is fun to see them reacting to like 40k stuff though, because a lot of them have started jumping down that rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, it's become
basically
very
all
popular,
of them have
so.
reacted to Bricky's like
yeah.
single Warhammer faction.
I remember seeing that, and I never watched any of the reactions to it because I was like, I already know like what.
Yeah,
Warhammer
this is such a long ass video. I'm not watching all these reactions.
Well, it's not even that. I can already imagine how it's gonna go. You know?
Oh yeah, too.
Because it's just like you're new to it. You're gonna go, oh, or whoa,
oh
or that's cool,
horrible. or yeah, exactly.
And I'm just like, cool.
Yep.
Glad that you enjoy it.
Typical person learning about 40k.
Exactly.
Responses.
So yeah. Oh, I also watched highlights for they did a 7 Days to Die one.
Nice.
And I saw a little bit of that, and then I played it a little bit and went, oh, this is different now. It's cool.
Mm-hmm. It's always been really good.
It has been. But now, yeah, at 1.0, it's actually, I think it's better than it's been. Because everyone can now do the crafting thing instead of it being a specific class, quote unquote, that can do it. You know how, like, the stats... you had to have intellect if you wanted to make workbenches and shit, unless you found the shit.
That's right.
Yeah, now anyone can do that, and there's like shit that you can find to just upgrade it and all that. So
good.
It's much better, much better now. Anyway,
because that was super fucking annoying when that would happen. Like, I want to be able to advance.
Yes, exactly. Right. When I was doing solo things, I was just like, wow, I have to spec in this way. Damn it, you know. But now you can do whatever you want.
Now, exactly.
So yeah,
it's very good. Good to hear, because I do love that game.
It is great. The people long for strife, indeed. This guy is somebody's crush, probably. Yeah. And everybody is.
Adorable.
Hades Kid Icarus is a pretty popular guy. There you go. For those listening audio only, this looks like Host Boy. That is a compliment. I don't know who that is, but good.
Who is Host Boy?
I don't know. I love VTubers. VTubers are funny. They can be very funny.
Yes, they can be.
I like watching the highlights and stuff. I just don't have the time to watch streams a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And if I do watch a stream, it's usually about other things rather than the person playing gameplay anymore, you know?
Yeah. I think my favorite thing about them is the vast majority of the popular ones and the enduring ones are insanely based a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And that's just nice to see.
Yeah. Oh, like from a host club. Oh, just like a host boy in general. Okay, got it.
Oh, yes. Yes, he does.
Fair.
Even though those rules might be kind of half-baked or just not universally applicable, because every single table is going to have unique needs and wants.
Excuse me, it's applicable.
I was gonna say applicable, but sure.
So I'm going to give you some criticism, not as a takedown or to tell you that you shouldn't be using these rules, but just as...
But you said to not use these. But okay.
That's what the title says.
Yeah.
He didn't say that.
Oh.
As a sort of devil's advocate to give you both sides of the coin before you just throw these things in. The first rule on the list goes by a handful of names. It just depends on who you ask, but it's very commonly called either crunchy crits or brutal criticals. Why people would choose to use a name that's already used for an existing barbarian mechanic that alters criticals in a completely different way is
But you just said that it goes by many different names, so yeah. But go on. Yeah, sure. Apply cable. Yes, exactly, Dave. Thank you.
fucking beyond me, but nobody seems to ask for my opinion before they make their D&D videos from several years ago.
True.
This homebrew changes the
Okay,
rule
that's
of
funny.
critical damage to...
Us too!
Yeah.
Instead of doubling the number of dice you roll, you instead just roll the regular dice, but then you add the maximum value that those dice could possibly roll to the attack's damage as well. So to give an example that should clear things up...
Oh, but that's what you do in some TTRPGs, like in general. Like,
yeah, that's what you do
Call
in
of
Call of
Cthulhu.
Cthulhu.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah.
So for those who don't know, in Call of Cthulhu, you have what's called impaling strikes. And whenever you get a crit with either a gun or a stabbing weapon, you do a damage dice, max damage, and then your damage bonus. And I want to say something else.
Might be
you do a ton of
size?
fucking damage.
Size is if it's a melee stabbing weapon, probably.
Huh?
Size.
What about it?
Size bonus, because there is a size bonus.
Oh, no. So you
Or is
have a
that
damage
applied?
bonus depending on your size and strength, not the
Oh!
size of the weapon.
Right. Yeah. I thought
I
size
wanna
bonus
say-
wasn't part of damage bonus, but that makes sense. Never mind.
Yeah. So it's damage dice, like a normal damage dice, max damage,
Yep.
and then a damage bonus on top of that if you have it.
Yes, exactly. Apple crumble, indeed. But yeah, so I can see why people would take it, because it works really well for Call of Cthulhu, and I think it would work really well for D&D.
Yeah. Because
it's simple.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things about it is its simplicity, and it's very satisfying, because instead of getting a crit and then possibly rolling super low, if you get a crit, you're at least guaranteed a decent chunk of damage no matter what.
Exactly.
If you got a crit, I feel like that's kind of to be expected, because, you fucking rolled a 20.
Yeah, exactly. You critically struck. It's crazy.
Yes.
But, I mean, he did say he'll give both sides, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Up a bit if you're still confused, let's say you use a Great Axe. Normally, a Great Axe rolls 1d12. With the standard crit damage rules, if you crit, you would roll 2d12. With this homebrew rule, you instead just roll your normal 1d12, and then you add an extra 12 damage to it, because 12 is the highest number you can roll on a 12-sided die. I personally don't like this rule, and I doubt I'll ever end up using it, but I do think it has its place at certain tables. I just think when people bring it up, they just kind of sweep a lot of its flaws under the rug. While brutal criticals can make your crits more exciting and rewarding when you land them, or more tense and devastating when the bad guys land them on you, there's also like a countless number of stories where people complain about how their big evil bad guy died in one round due to the players getting a couple lucky crits, or there was a TPK in an easy encounter because the enemies did the same thing.
So, yeah, that's a problem.
Luck of the dice.
But yeah, exactly. It's unfortunate that can happen, but that is just how the dice roll.
Yeah, that is pure dice, man.
There's
Sorry.
nothing that we can do about it, really.
Because that can happen with regular crits too.
Exactly. So I guess it's the problem is that it could be more often because of this this brutal critical system happening. So you could have it be like way more often, but I don't know. I feel like if you want to go for that certain feel, like you said, for a certain table, yeah, you make it so that it becomes incredibly deadly in that way. Or it could never happen ever, because no one could ever roll a crit. Like, I don't know. Sure, there are a lot of stories out there, but let me tell you, I don't pay attention to any of that shit anymore at all, because one or two people having something happen in that kind of way is a lot less like impactful to me, I guess. In a lot of instances, because I'm just like, man, that sucks for you, I guess. Right? It's nothing happened that is necessarily going to happen in my game. But okay.
Yeah.
It's
saying that is hilarious. Like, sucks to be you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, it's one of those things.
Yeah, no,
right?
I know. Like, I know you don't mean it that way. It just sounds funny because
Yeah.
kind of, it's the only thing you can say, really.
Yeah, it really is, because what are you supposed to do? Like, oh, I watched a Crit Crab video, now I'm afraid to play D&D. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Like,
you heard about a car accident and I'm never gonna drive? What?
Right, exactly. Which, if that's what happens, then sure, okay,
Yeah.
But like, for like some people having, again, like, we've all experienced it, all of us.
Oh, yeah.
Of like, oh, my big bad died real quick. Oh well.
My lich boss got suplexed and I couldn't do anything.
Exactly.
It sucks.
Like, but at the end of the day, at least for me, I don't give a fuck. It was a time that we had fun, and I watched my players do it good.
Indeed.
Or the other way around. I had fun, and my players went, ah!
Yep.
Either way, I don't know. I should never do that with my hair because it just curls up into a rat's nest. Oh, well, I have curly hair too, but I would love hair like that. Fair enough. My hair is actually a little longer than that right now, and it kind of does the same thing.
I wish I had nicer, like, long hair like that, but I just don't.
Yeah,
my hair doesn't grow that way.
The only reason why it grows this way is because I don't want to cut my hair and I'm lazy.
Fair.
So, but it also grows good. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I can deal with this. Conditioner is your friend indeed. Yes.
Yeah.
If you don't like that kind of thing happening, this rule makes that possibility even higher, because brutal criticals do a lot more damage than your regular crit rule. Crits are a totally random, well, mostly random and mostly uncontrollable part of the game. If you make them do even more damage, then they're going to have an even bigger ability to swing a fight in one side's favor, while being no more of a strategic decision. There are some people who hate random chance being able to play such a big role in determining a fight, or even worse, somebody's death. This exact same rule that can make things feel more rewarding and epic and really cool and swingy can also just make things frustrating some of the time. This rule is also an insane amount of damage once you start calculating for things that get to roll lots of dice when they hit. When people give examples for crunchy crits, they usually do what I did, and they use just a basic weapons damage die. Getting to have the maximum of your basic weapon die added, like a D10 or a D12, is pretty sweet. But once you start getting into things like a rogue's sneak attack, paladins who can choose to divine smite after they crit, frost giants who roll 3d12 per hit, it starts to become a lot of damage. This takes the mechanic from adding that extra 12 damage to each crit, to all of a sudden adding 24, 30, or even more damage to every single attack.
So, I don't see that as a necessary problem, or necessarily a problem. Again, if I want that to be the feel of the game, that is the feel of the game that I want. It's just as simple as that. We were talking with Peter not too long ago, and one of the things that he was saying that I agree with is that, when you get into those higher levels, there's so much squishy fucking damage, like sponges, basically, that it really loses that feel of every moment could be your last as you continue to level up in D&D. Because level 1 through level 5, something could two-shot you or one-shot you, and it really ups that tension and stakes. But once you get past that, you have double digits to triple digits of health, and so do all the monsters and stuff, and it takes a lot longer, and it doesn't have the same impact, right?
Yes.
But this is a way to not it's a way to mitigate the problem slightly, at least hopefully, to make it so that the fights might take less time and it might be a little bit more deadly and all that kind of stuff that you might want to have in your D&D game in order to combat that problem. If you have a problem with it, to be fair. So, I don't know. It feels like it's fine. Feels like it's just fine.
Feels like it can work just fine.
It's just, I guess what I would say is that if you are going to utilize this homebrew rule, just know that you are giving that feel for your game. You really need to work with that and make sure that if you don't want that to happen, you don't let the enemies, by the way, I'm heating water. If you don't want to have that happen, you don't want to have your enemies doing shit tons of damage if they were to crit. You have to account for these things as a DM. That's really it. That's how homebrew works. If you're going to put it in, you got to put in the work.
Yeah. The other thing, there is one more option that you can do, and this is a teensy tiny bit of metagaming on your part, as the DM. But here's the thing. D&D's not balanced. Never has been, never will be. Or at least not well balanced. Here's the thing. If you want to have this kind of a system in place because you want to give the players those moments of, oh, hell yeah, I did some big shit. I was super cool, I did a lot of damage. And you're worried about your monsters doing the same, just don't give it to your monsters.
Sure. Yeah, you could.
Just make it so that the monsters have regular crits and the players have these empowered crits.
Yeah, that is true.
Who cares? There are plenty of times in Devils and Dice where I'm where the players did some crits, and they pretty much always got some bonus effect. And there were times when the enemies got crits, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do anything extra. I'm just going to do extra damage because you guys are having a hard enough time as it is, or whatever other reason I came up with.
Yeah.
At times, I just chose not give the the enemies additional effects.
That's fine.
It's really just as simple as that.
It's within your
Granted,
prerogative.
yeah, again, that's a tiny bit of metagaming, so if you have an issue with that, then you probably won't, but just remember that that's an option.
I prefer long hair. It suits me better. Male pattern baldness is my mortal enemy.
Yeah, dude,
Fair.
I'm starting to get Vegeta Widow's Peaks, dude.
Oh, shit.
I'm on my way, dude.
Oh, my God. You better style it like Vegeta, then.
Oh, I don't have enough hair to do that.
I know.
I don't have that bad. It's I can tell it's on the way, though.
Yeah, I get you.
Gonna be great.
I just can't wait for all of my hair to go gray. That's just what I want. I'm
that's what I've
it.
got. I've got a lot of gray.
That's fair enough. I'm
very
tired of
salt and
it.
pepper.
I don't give a fuck. I'm ready. It's over. let me go.
Yep.
It can be a big number very, very quickly. To sum it up quickly, critical hits are already able to really swing a fight unpredictably, with no player input. I think you should be careful before you allow them to do that even more so.
Sure.
You can, just, think it through. People often add this rule to avoid that feel-bad moment of rolling really low on your crit damage, because that moment does suck. And brutal criticals make it so that every single crit is going to be big and going to hurt. And if that makes people happy at your table, great reason to add this to your game. But do consider that you can already end up rolling low on regular weapon damage, and that's kind of a feel-bad moment. A lot of times when you roll really low on your dice, it sort of sucks. Random chance will always be a part of this game. You can always end up rolling high, and you can always end up rolling low, and a big part of the fun of rolling really high is because there is that risk of rolling really low. If you try too hard to remove all those feel-bad moments in D&D, you end up hurting the fun of D&D in the process. I've tried, and my games ended up sucking.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But the thing is, it really just depends on what you want, right?
Yeah.
I am 100% about having lows, a lot of lows, because that's just how I am. I like wallowing in misery. But no, it's literally just like, because you accentuate those with each of the highs, right? It really makes it so that they're more impactful to me, at least. It's part of the reason why I like vampires so much. It's fucked. Yes. You are never in a good spot, and if you do things that are good, you'll feel good about it. So I don't know. It's the perfect kind of thing for me, at least. But yeah, I don't think that it will affect the highest highs and the lowest lows if you do this one thing, though. Because again, like you said, you're getting a critical. You expect to at least do more damage. Even if you only take it as you do at max, you do like half of your max damage for your first die, like it's like you get a d12, okay, you do 6 base, and then roll an additional d12, you might get more. Like, you can tailor it however you want to really make it work better for you. But I feel like at least with that one, it's like, oh yeah, I got a crit, let's make it feel good.
Yeah.
Gray or white hair, Alejo? Oh god. That's a good question. I'm fine with either. I think the process is usually gray into white.
Yeah.
Usually. But I'm just ready for it right now. I'm tired. I want to look tired so that people know. But no, legitimately, I think yeah, I'm good with either. If someone was afraid of it being an all-the-time thing, make it a resource that can be spent. If you get 3 battles per arc for... you get 3 battles per arc for brutal crits. Yeah, you could tie it to, like, something like the action point system that was a thing. You could tie it to inspiration, if you want. Like, that means that you can give it the resource more freely for a more mechanical benefit. In that instance, rather than a advantage any moment thing, it's a okay, you can make this a brutal critical thing potentially. Like there's a lot of ways to do it. Oh, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Apologies for that. I lay down for a nap and slept through my alarm.
That's fair enough. I understand. Hello. How are you feeling?
Very tired. I woke up and sprinted out to my living room.
Well, good to have you here, bud.
Yes.
You've made it for the second video.
Okay.
We're going over
Uh,
3
wh-
common homebrew rules and why not to use them.
Yes.
Interesting.
Um,
What was our first video?
The first video was an underrated skill that is important for D&D, and basically it was combat dialogue. So having dialogue during your combat, and how to improve doing that if you don't do it a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It was okay.
It was an okay video, yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like that would have been interesting. Sorry I missed it.
You're all right. You're okay. Yeah, it's basically...
It was a fine video. We just essentially took issue with the fact that it focused entirely on trying to talk more rather than trying to do more role play as a whole, which can always include talking.
Yes.
So it was talk more, not talk better.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
It's
okay.
like I was saying. It's in that segment. It's just you can do so much with just actions and body language that dialogue is good and all, but you don't necessarily like. I feel like we can really promote more than just talk more. You know. But anyway. Let's see. Oh yeah. So this first homebrew rule that we've gone over was the brutal criticals, or just better criticals, where you do max damage and then you add on a die to roll, and then you get your bonus and everything. And he was saying it just adds more of that unpredictability, because you get all these stories of people saying, "Oh, my boss died really quickly because in like 2 turns because they crit so much," or "Oh, I had an entire TPK," and how some people are less into having the randomness of criticals play a big role in their thing, and we were just like, "Yeah, sure, but also it's fine." And he was like, "Oh yeah, also if you want it for your table, that's fine, but think about it." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
Goodbye.
But other than that, yeah.
Yep.
I think it's
just okay.
I think it's a fine rule. I think it applies to situations. I think it applies to tables, and I think that it's not, as long as you think about it and you put in the effort. That's really the main thing about homebrew. If you're gonna put in homebrew, you need to make an effort to make it work, because you can't just slap it in there and call it good necessarily.
Yeah. Because it does take years for these games to get made, and they do try to balance them as best they can with all the shit that you can do in them.
Yeah, and then when you slap something in, it can completely fuck with it.
Yes.
I know I've showed pictures before of the Knuckle Duster's thoughts and prayers.
Mm-hmm. I remember. Yep. Turn you up just a little bit there. Okay. Unfortunately, I'll never fulfill my middle school dream of being Sephiroth. Sad. Pretty sure Greydon should have gray hair. Thank you. I'll get it as soon as I can. Dude, I have a white streak in my bangs that cover my eye and reach to my chin. Dude, that's sick.
Cool. Nice.
That sounds like awesome.
That sounds like anime hair.
Yeah, it does.
Actually.
That's awesome. Silver foxes are underrated. I agree. In the grim darkness of the future, silver fox will become the new word for sexy seniors. Oh, it always has been.
Yeah,
always
in
has
the grim
been.
darkness of now,
Yes.
silver fox will become the word for sexy seniors.
Anyway, okay. Let's continue to the second point.
Ow. Fuck. Another rule that isn't actually homebrewed, it's an optional rule in the DMG, is called massive damage. And no, that wasn't for the bit. I did not just take massive damage. I just fucking hit myself in the head for no reason.
I really like this guy's style. Like, he just kind of goes with this shit, and he's talking as it is. And I've liked his jokes so far, and he kept this in because it's funny. He didn't do a second take of it. You know what? Props to you, Thomas.
Hurting yourself for the bit.
Yeah, but not doing it for the bit and keeping it in.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay.
The way that this rule works is that if you take massive damage, something equal to or greater than half of your hit points, you suffer some additional debilitating effect. And I fucking hate this rule.
Sure.
Now, I've
really?
never actually played with it, and maybe if I did, I would see how I'm wrong.
Okay.
But it sounds awful.
Sure.
I don't know, man. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing. Jacob from XP to level 3 has brought it up in all 3 of his homebrew rule videos. So, like, he's a smart D&D guy. Maybe there's something there that I'm missing, but I don't see it. Whenever you take massive damage, you have to make a con save. If you fail, you roll on the System Shock table and suffer some kind of effect. The idea behind this mechanic is to create just that, System Shock. It's that kind of moment when a character takes such a big hit from something that they're left rolling around in pain, stunned from the experience, or just frozen in shock. I understand why people want something like that in D&D. I really do. D&D games exist in a...
I would like to see. There we go.
Yes. Good
idea.
Again, putting up graphics, it's good for you to do in videos. Please do it more, everyone.
I like all of these except for the first 2.
Drop to 0 hit points, but it's stable. Yeah, I don't like those. I think drop prone and so drop prone and stunned and drop prone. That's what I would do. I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, I think drop prone would be a better effect, but like it's like we talked about with earlier episodes. D&D, like, once you get to the point where you have too many hit points,
Yes.
just being able to so like if your hit point max is 99 hit points,
yeah,
and you're at 1 hit point, you are still as effective a fighter.
Exactly.
And I don't really like that. I really like something that reflects, like, oh, you took a big hit. So yeah, I've never used massive damage, but I honestly think I may in the future.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's an optional rule in the DMG, so it's there. They intended for it to be something that you could do, and again, since it's optional, you can change it as much as you want. I mean, it's D&D; you can change anything as much as you want, right? But it's optional, so it's inherently something that's like, oh yeah, just this is inspiration. You can fucking do this if you want. We tried it, yeah, I would say if you take away those first 2, you got a pretty good thing. You could even expand the list to have so much more or different things, or just mix and match here and there with what they've already got, and do whatever you want with it. I know. I mean, we've used it already, but Call of Cthulhu and Delta Green both have the if you take like half your hit points, you have to make a save or have something happen to you, either getting downed or I think Delta Green is the same in that case. You still get
I don't
downed.
remember what Delta Greens is, but I know that in Call of Cthulhu, if you take more than half of your hit points, you have to make a con save or you fall unconscious immediately.
Yeah. Which I'm fine with for those because it makes sense in those games because you have like 12 hit points.
Yes.
and you're
just a regular ass person.
Yeah, exactly. For those, it makes so much more sense that you would drop to unconsciousness. But in something like D&D, yeah, maybe you take a penalty for until you get your next short rest, right? Like that could be one of them. Instead of you drop to 0.
Yeah, that's dumb.
That doesn't feel right. But I know why they do it. It's because the system itself, as Aiden said, we've talked about it many a time, but you can just get up and be fine if you get healing. And they've accounted for that in this table of, you heal up to like 4 HP, you can take on the dragon again. That's fine. You know?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Hey, you can do it.
Like, get up, coward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the fuck up. So, yeah, if we were to change it to reflect more of the style that we would want for it to actually represent, it would work better. At least if I were to include this. If I were playing D&D and wanted to include something like this. Every sororitas is a silver fox? True.
Yeah, that is true.
The one time I don't Google something first to make sure it wasn't already a thing. Gotcha. He sounded just like you then. Fair enough. 5e System Shock looks pretty forgiving compared to earlier editions. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, everything in 5e is easier or more forgiving than earlier editions.
Yeah. For sure.
Mechanic is to create just that, system shock. It's that kind of moment when a character takes such a big hit from something that they're left rolling around in pain, stunned from the experience, or just frozen in shock. I understand why people want something like that in D&D. I really, really do. D&D games exist in a kind of tug-of-war between storytelling mechanics and good and balanced gameplay mechanics. And everyone's ideal line for this tension to fall on is gonna be in a different place.
True.
But I think we all want to be able to maintain verisimilitude in our stories while having a fair game. That's pretty universal. I think the massive damage mechanic focuses way too much on this idea of a realistic reaction to damage that just pulls too far away from fun gameplay, in my opinion. Losing half of your hit points in one strike is no small fee, and if you're up against something that can do that to you, I don't think most parties are going to need that situation to be even worse. To put things into a better perspective, the Dungeon Master's Guide System Shock table has you roll a d10, and on a 1 to a 3, you fall down to 0 hit points. The attack just gets boosted to one-shot you. Imagine starting a combat against a dragon, and it goes first and gets to use its breath weapon.
I really hope that he goes into maybe the possibility of adjusting the table, right? Because we're already talking about Homebrew, so that's just the natural conclusion of this doesn't seem like it works well in its current form, right? Which we've already come to the decision of just from seeing it already. But yeah, please, I pray.
And like a couple people have to roll on this table, and there's just a 30% chance that they're immediately downed.
Yeah.
That is an absolute worst case scenario. I am kind of exaggerating here, but it's still a scenario that you're opening yourself up to having. I cannot think, and I am searching my brain, for some kind of situation where having a big attack that's already doing a lot of damage gets boosted to one-shot me, and I'm still having fun. Even if you roll higher on the table and you get some of the less bad effects, they're still just, well, like I just said, they're not very fun. I run very narrative-focused games that are similar to a lot of the popular D&D shows like Critical Role and Dimension 20. And when I'm running combat as a DM, my primary goal is to both create and then manipulate tension. The more tense a situation is, the more careful and strategic players have to be with their moves. For all the various players I've ever ran for, if one of them got chunked for half their health, that already lights a fire under their ass and it makes a moment tense. Holy fuck, you just lost half your health. I have never once run a game for a player who needed to be stunned or something like that on top of it, just to make it an impactful moment.
Right, but that's, so they can, but it could happen. Is that they could take a big chunk and be stunned. Like, that could be part of the attack. It depends on the monster that you're using and what you want from them. But it is something that can happen. And it's not that it can't... It's not that you haven't encountered somebody that it isn't needed for. It's that it can be something that can add to the tension of an already tense situation in general, right? Because then it becomes... Do we protect this guy because he can't do anything for a turn? Or do we cut our losses and try to heal him up when he goes down, if he goes down, before he can move again? Right? There's a lot of different ways that you can think about this tactically. And it can be tense for a lot of different people, more so because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I get what you're going for here, and I agree with you that at least with your style, it doesn't seem like it would work necessarily as is. But please, 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 just say, maybe it could be improved. Something along those lines. Because that's where I would go, okay, we're on the same page. That's fine. You know, because when I look at that table, I don't necessarily go, yeah, this is good enough. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like it could be taken in a direction to make it more interesting and more variable, rather than just focusing
this is bad,
on
don't use it.
Yeah, focusing on the two really bad results, really. Like, there's a big focus there on that, which I'm like, yeah, we can fix that. It's homebrew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so listening to his point, and especially seeing Big Hurt already scary, I don't know if there is a fix I can propose that includes Big Hurt and additional effects that would be more fun for what was his name?
Thomas. Yeah.
I kind of think the way things are raw will be like the most fun for Thomas.
Exactly.
However, I think it just comes down to a difference of opinion because like I know Big Hurt already scary. If I take a big hit, that's real bad. I'm gonna be like sitting a little straighter in my seat.
Yep.
However, I'm also comfortable with the knowledge that it can happen to enemies too.
Yes.
And statistically speaking, will be more likely to happen to a lot of enemies.
Yes, exactly.
At least in the games that I've run or been in a part of.
Yeah, it makes sense just mathematically.
Yeah. So like I think this one just ultimately comes down to a difference of opinion.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying like I don't necessarily know if there is much I could contribute to this point. Like one person says yes, one person says no. Both are completely informed.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Then again, the 3.5 massive damage threshold was a straight 50 damage from one attack, plus or minus 10 damage per size category above or below medium. Oh. So that was more for giving it low level and less for giving it high level. Yeah, fair enough. Makes sense. It's also standard raw, though, and would automatically one-shot you if you failed the fortitude save. Ooh! Ooh!
Wow.
Ooh!
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that earlier. I'm like, I'm not seeing a lot of losing limbs on this table.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Anything like that. Any sort of just debilitating thing, rather than a straight-up, you can't do anything. Really.
All the and even the ones that are very temporary. They could be solved with a single lay on hands.
Exactly.
As opposed to, like you said, losing a limb, which you would at least need, what is it, healing or regeneration, was it?
I think, yeah, there's that, and I don't know if Greater Restoration can do it, but
It cannot.
Okay. Then, yeah, I think there is a different spell that can do limbs.
Yeah.
I will double check myself,
Yeah.
But I could have sworn I checked Greater
I think you're right.
Restoration in the past.
I think you're right. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, same.
In addition, it's hard to maintain tension if players can't act on it. If somebody gets knocked out or stunned to where they just don't get to do anything...
So, okay, not necessarily. They can still be tense because everybody else is still in the situation.
Yeah.
Because, like, yeah, sure, you don't get to play at the time. I get that. Hell, I'll ask you guys. In the first ever Project Astatine thing we did, where I knocked Brogan and Aiden down, and it was just Boo. Did you feel tension?
Oh yeah.
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 So it's possible, is what I'm saying here, right?
Yes.
It's not that it will always be the case, because some people might focus on the fact that they can't contribute more so than the situation that's at hand that they are witnessing from a meta's perspective, right? Because if that last person goes down, well, then it might be over for everybody. You just you're done, right? Instead of saying, it sucks that I can't contribute anymore. I really wanted to be a part of this, right? But you are still technically. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's another matter of perspective, really. Greater Restoration. Okay, yeah, it does not give back a limb. Thank you, Aiden.
They're no longer asking things like, what do I need to do to win this fight? Or trying to figure out how to be more strategic. Instead, it just rips the game out of their hands, smacks them upside the head, and keeps them from doing anything, which can be really frustrating for players. And Jacob already made a video complaining about the stun condition and why it's stupid and why nobody should use it. And buddy, I have followed your lead like a sheep in your flock, and you are my shepherd. I have trusted you thus far, but I don't understand where we're going anymore, buddy. Why the fuck do you use this rule? Now, I want to be very clear and make it so that you don't think I'm saying debuffing your characters is always bad. Okay. That's not what I'm saying.
Good.
I do have issues with the stun condition and similar things to it, but that's a rant for a whole different video.
Sure.
I actually love debuffing players, and I think it can make for insanely fun fights. The issue that I have in this particular situation is that you're adding a debuff onto something that's doing a ton of damage with no drawbacks. You're making the thing they're fighting more powerful, even though the reason it's getting buffed is because it's already really powerful to begin with.
Yeah, and again, I understand and see that point. So what I want now is for you to transition into the fact that we could make this work by changing the table. That's just all I need. All I need is that easy, like you're laying down
up to it.
Yeah, the foundation is being set, and I'm here for it, and I'm like, I want to build this fucking house with you. Okay, let's go.
In short, I feel like doing damage is its own reward. Another little side issue that I have with massive damage is that there is no damage minimum for this thing to kick in as written. People usually talk about larger level parties getting hit by a dragon's breath and stuff like that.
Sure.
But there's no minimum requirement for this thing to kick in.
Yes.
So it is very, very dangerous for low level parties. If you're like level 1, 2, 3, your health is still in the single or barely into the double digits. This is no longer.
Yeah, no, if you are a level 1 wizard and you walk through a patch of thorns, you might have to roll on this table.
Yeah, exactly, right?
It'd be fucking hilarious, dude. You're walking through thorns and all of a sudden, oh, I've been pricked. Just fall over completely unconscious. Be hilarious.
It would be. Again, it's the feel. What do you want for the feel of your game, right? But again, where the foundation.
You know what this reminds me of? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go on.
This has instantly brought me to fucking Freedom Unite Monster Hunter.
Okay.
G rank stung by a Vespoid.
Oh, yes. Yep.
It's that.
Yep. Absolutely. Yes. 100% yes.
And that shit is hilarious sometimes and infuriating other times.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And it's amazing.
Yes. 100%. I'm with you. Every time I lay on hands, they go to sleep. Every time I lay on hands, I get sent to HR.
That doesn't seem fair.
Yeah.
Level 1 fighter, time to face the Lich King. Nothing more is needed. Exactly.
I have been training in the German suplex arts forever.
Exactly. Yes. But yeah, okay. Just the pipe is here. The water is flowing. Don't hit the T
Don't
section
turn it off.
so that it dribbles out. Okay, let's just go. Come on,
Full blast.
we gotta do this.
a mechanic that makes massive attacks come down and shock a party. This makes it so a guy named Paul with a beat stick is damn near guaranteed to fuck up your wizard.
That's right.
It isn't impossible
Yeah?
that a person with a club could kill somebody in one swing. That's not unrealistic. But a lot of people don't play D&D to die to one shot because realism is cool.
Sure.
If your group does, that's awesome. But just, make sure your group does before you go adding in this rule.
Yes.
To its benefit, though, massive damage has
absolutely.
a lot of different parts of it that you can fuck around with to try to make it into your own thing.
Hey!
Lots of people have created their own
did it!
system shock tables or come up with ideas for just single mechanics. You could add a damage minimum so it's not as deadly to early parties. There's lots to tweak around with and to look up, so, mess around with it and turn it into something of your own.
Let's
Love it. Yes, we did
Finally,
it.
it took him a while to say it. I kind of wish he was a little bit more.
I do too as
like,
well.
insistent upon it and didn't just be like, oh, this is the most important part of it. Let's kind of just like,
Yes, I agree. There's more that was needed, but at least we
it
got
was
there.
said.
I
Yes.
understand a reluctance to tell people what to do in their own game.
Well, so it's less what they should do and more go into an example that might be for him, right? For his group and his party. Like, I get that he's not as much into the table, but again, it's the time, it's the moment to really, because he said maybe if I were to use it, I could understand it more. And so then we can see a little bit more of the workings of how he would do it and how it would make it so that if other people are like with his perspective on it, then they would also do it, right? Potentially, and make it so that they could have fun with it in that way. Like, it's less about this is how you need to do it and more about this is how I would do it. But regardless, we got there, boys. We're here.
Yes.
Finally, my house. It has the walls up. Yes.
Here we are.
Here we are. Oh, God. I hate it when I get out of bed in the morning, stub my toe on the door, and instantly die. Me too.
Yep.
Yo, have you met Paul? He'll destroy a wizard with or without the rules. True. Without the rule, exactly.
I don't know how Jacob does this shit on the floor. This is not comfortable, but I'm, like, the camera's above my crotch. I'm, like, I'm being straddled by a DSLR. Jump cut to back to the couch. Lastly, I'm going to cover critical success and critical fail tables, full of extra bonuses for an already good thing and extra detriments for an already bad thing. You see, I did this really creative thing with my script, in which ties into the other 2 points, because it's,
True.
I'm really smart. As you may or may not be able to guess, my biggest issue with these rules is that critical successes are already good enough and critical fails are already bad enough.
Sure.
If you want those things to be bigger and more extreme in each direction, you can do that. You absolutely can. I just want you to be sure that you understand the role that crits are already having in your games before you go fucking with them.
Yeah,
a lot
absolutely.
of the homebrew tables that people make for this shit get really ridiculous and really out of hand really, really fast. Like, rolling a 1 has a chance to make your weapon break, which can just make people completely useless for the rest of a fight. Or you can chop off your own arm. And critical successes will give you things like you deal quadruple damage, and you also lop off the dude's head, and his head goes flying towards the next guy, and it hits into his chest where it explodes, and it deals 20d20 head damage. Avoid
Fuck
the
yeah.
So I will happily agree. A lot of crit tables that I've seen are a bit nutso, and
Yes.
making a grounded crit table is way more work than I'm willing to put in.
Yes,
Or so is finding one.
exactly.
Which is why I don't use crit tables.
Yes, that's kind of my main reason as well. In the moment, if I want there to be something additional that happens that at least is reasonable and not going to be something that everybody goes, fucking what? In a bad way, then it's fine. But if it is something like that, then I can at least just go, oh, okay, no, it's cool. Yeah, let's not do that then, It's that importance of communication, right?
I'm a big... go on.
That was the end of it.
I am a big fan of taking something in the spirit of crit tables.
Yes.
And just like providing a buff or a debuff as how to put this in a manner that makes sense to me. as the storyteller,
Yeah.
I like to flex my creative muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of using crit tables in general. Just because like having a specific percentage where it's like, oh boy, if you roll an 89,
Yeah.
then you're going to do quadruple damage and cut off his head, and
Right.
it's going to fly to the nearest person and deal 20d20 head damage. Having a specific like 1 in a million shot,
Right.
such as dealing 20d20 head damage, as represented as a 1% chance instead of like 1,000% chance.
Yeah, I get that. Yep.
Feels a bit funny to me. And then I just really like saying, hey, you know what, fighter, you've had a bit of a rough day. I'm gonna give you a little bit more than your double damage on this crit. Or hey, you know what, you're feeling really good. I'm sorry, I'm tired. I can't really come up with examples right now, but I might give a bonus that might last through the fight, like +1 to this.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's again, I think it's like you said, the spirit of it is probably the better option usually than being stringent about a table or something like that. Yeah, for sure. I'm with you. I know this is already recorded, but I just noticed that phone on the floor, and I sure do hope he doesn't get up and step on it. Well, yeah, fair.
Dude, I thought, so when that phone first appeared, it was flipped over, and I thought it was a sock at first.
Fair.
Those tables are poorly designed, but even smaller effects can still be a little overbearing, and even little things like cosmetic changes can sometimes backfire. Not all players like when you change stuff about their character. And permanent injuries is its own slew of issues, because 5th edition isn't built to accommodate some kind of permanent injury, so you have to figure out every single little rule about how this is going to affect that person going forward.
I mean, so there is a spell, now I have to find it, there's a spell to regrow limbs, like permanent, and like, I don't know, if you want it to be impactful, that there's a difference between it not being something that works, I guess, and it being something that is accounted for. Because the execution of it might not work, because... regenerate. Yeah, okay.
That's it.
Yeah, I think you said that before.
There is a link.
Thank you. Very useful. Thank you. Yeah, so regenerate, your 7th level spell. Touch a creature and stimulate its natural healing ability. Regains a lot of hit points. The target's severed body members, fingers, legs, tails, and so on, if any, are restored after 2 minutes. If you have the severed part and hold it to the stump, the spell instantaneously causes the limb to knit to the stump. So it is there. It does take that into account at high level play. But that also means that at low-level play, you could become debilitated entirely. And whether or not that's something that you want in your game is up to you and your table, right? But it is something that's taken into account. There's no hard and fast rule for severing limbs in 5e, but they've given you the opportunity to make one for yourself.
Well, isn't Vorpal still a thing in 5e?
No.
Oh.
Vorpal has been
I
gone.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. That was one of the best rules.
Vorpal's been gone since, I believe, 3e. I don't even think
the 4
it's
had Vorpal.
technically a thing in...
4 had
did
Vorpal.
it?
Yeah, I think so. Pretty sure.
Boo, did 4 have Vorpal?
I don't believe it. I don't remember. I'd have to look.
4th edition.
So this is a great opportunity for me to say my piece.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a fan of Regenerate being a 7th level spell.
Me either.
Yeah, I think there should be a lower level version of it that does less.
Yes, I agree.
My justification for this is societies will naturally research magical spells that are useful for the common man. I happen to know a person who has lost 3 fingers to a chainsaw in 3 separate incidents.
Oh,
Damn. He needs to learn how to use a chainsaw.
All of which because he was wearing a ring on that finger.
Oh.
Yeah, well.
You'd have thought he would have learned them after the first 2.
Right.
Well.
It's whatever.
Yeah.
However, my point being, like, say you're a farmer, and you have a horrible accident with some shears while you're trimming your hedges, and you lose a finger somehow.
Yes.
Maybe you were wearing a ring.
It's impossible to know for sure.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, farmers who like live a bit more of a rough lifestyle while they're still like trying to get set up will naturally be a bit more accident prone, and having spells would be handy. So societies as a whole will do more research into, hey, wow, so and so, the Paul Wizard Killer lost his clubbing arm the other day. We should probably fix that. Oh boy, well, we don't have someone who can cast 7th of the 9 levels of magic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
It seems a bit busted.
Yeah.
So you should absolutely have a regenerate at home.
Right.
Yes. God damn it.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. I agree.
And we have regenerated home.
And
Regenerated home.
Yeah.
and like what they were doing with kind of introducing things like the mechanical arm and such, which was the like magical Eberron thing, and kind of Eberron really cemented a lot of the usages of magic in the day-to-day life, where you were a cleaner and you had prestidigitation because it helped, right? Like you could do your job better because of these minor magics, these cantrips that anyone could do because it's something you can teach. You know, and then it makes the trades easier and all that kind of stuff. Like, it makes sense that magic would be experimented with and utilized to better society in general, as you were saying. So,
can you imagine a world where everyone had prestidigitation? That would be fucking chaotic.
it would be
awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, there would be so much graffiti.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so many
awesome.
people cleaning up that graffiti.
But also, it would be clean instantly.
Yeah. Well, so, and again, teaching and learning magic takes a certain aptitude, right? Like, it's not something that anyone can do, but it is something that everyone can try to do. It's that whole thing that at least it makes sense to me that there would be a resurgence of, or a surge, of people that would be those day-to-day 9-to-5 people that just use magic in their daily tasks. Like the farmer, he's using fucking invisible servants
Stone foil.
Yeah.
Or
whatever, just to make it so that he can produce the cabbages better. I don't know.
My cabbages.
Yeah.
Something, I don't know.
Something. But yeah, like legitimately. Draco says, the topic reminds me, the 5.5 DMG has rules for making your own spells. So damn, make a lower level regenerate. I love it when stuff is put in the books, even if it seems redundant by homebrew. Yeah, that's great. Just to help out and create that sense of like, oh yeah, you can do this. Yeah. But good. Absolutely. But obviously we're talking about 5e with this video, but it's good to see that they at least were like, yeah, fucking go for it. Why wouldn't you be able to do that? Because of course you would.
Yeah, why wouldn't you do spellcrafting? You could do that shit in Oblivion.
Exactly. You could do that shit in Morrowind. Come on.
You could.
Yeah. Taking 3.5 definitely had Vorpal. Taking Vorpal out is not Frabjous? Frabjous?
Uh.
Hold on. Is that a word? Frabjous. It is. Delightful and joyous. Frabjous. Huh.
It is not Frabjous.
It is not Frabjous at all. True.
I appreciate the esoteric word. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll add it to
I
the
shall
lexicon.
give you one in return. If you ever want to say that it is foggy outside, say that it is brumous.
Ooh. Very good.
Yes.
And also, I looked into it. It seems like Vorpal weapons were a thing, but they didn't do the same amount of like deadly damage. They just
okay. Because I just
did
remembered that
damage.
Vorpal was a thing where if you got a crit, you took
Yep.
off their head
Yep.
or a limb.
Exactly. It seems like it just does more damage rather than take off a limb in 4.
Lame. Bring
Um,
back, make Vorpal great again.
Exactly. I used to be an adventurer like you, then I got a ring of protection stuck in a trap door and degloved my finger. True.
Interesting. So I was really curious about the etymology of that. And it
Brumus?
says originally a
Or-
nonce word in Lewis Carroll's Jabberwocky, probably a blend of fair, fabulous, and joyous.
Oh, good job, Lewis
Interesting.
Carroll. You invented a word.
Yeah.
Good shit. I love it when that happens.
I mean, Shakespeare had elbow.
Yes.
And I've heard elbow before, but I've never heard frabjous before.
Also
but,
true.
you know, you'll get him next time, Lewis Carroll.
Hey, it exists. That's enough. It would also smell/not smell for prestidigitation. Yes, that is true. One way I like to do it is the fastest way to make spells stronger is for more people to cast it at the same time. Add a ×1 modifier for every caster on top of the spell level. Yeah, absolutely. Like,
that's a good way to do it.
Another way for you to used Brum for a foggy plant in Star Wars for my first campaign comes from Celtic for mist or fog.
Nice.
Okay. A deity is a ×20 modifier. Yeah, fair enough. So the other way, of course, is when you have the loss of limbs, you make it a quest. Whoa!
Yes.
You know? Because, like, all of these things can become an adventure hook, if you will. A side quest hook. Or whatever you want, which probably becomes a main quest because, my arm is gone.
I need that back.
I can't swing my sword without my arm.
Not my J.O. hand.
That's right. So
I can't kill wizards without my club and arm.
Yes, exactly. So you then have, are there rumors about somebody who can heal things that you can then go on a quest for? Or is there a hag in the swamps who has esoteric magic that you
Don't do it.
that you can use to get your arm back? Like
ain't worth it.
You can absolutely throw these things at them to then have these little elements of the world really grip them and they can interact with things that they would never have done so otherwise.
Yes.
I will give a minor bit of pushback. I don't like giving players a quest as a response to taking someone's limb. My reason for such is I am not a big fan of a player losing a limb might feel contrived to the player.
Sure.
Especially if you immediately pair it up with a quest.
Oh, I'm not saying to do it immediately. I'm saying that it's a possibility that you can utilize. Like, it is something that's out there in your world that you can then have them explore if they wish to. Or they can deal with it, or they can retire the character. It's just another thing that you can put as something to have them interact with the world.
Wait, what do you mean? You're not going to cut off their limb and then have somebody show up and be like, hey, I got a letter for you. Your eyes only.
Exactly. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
But please, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, that player who is now missing an arm is going to feel like a detriment to their party for the entirety of that quest until they get the ostensible reward for that quest. And feeling like you're dragging your party down is never fun.
So, they could, potentially. I don't know, because, like, in some instances, I might not. But, I have an example of a death that was then utilized to become a quest that I watched in an actual play, where they had one of the characters died, and they were like 5th level or something, right? And it became this because the characters were guilt-ridden. They did not think that this person should die. That they hadn't had their full life ahead of them / they needed them for the future, and they had grown a bond with them, right? and so they sought it out. They sought out a way to potentially revive this person. And while that character was dead, the player utilized another character for that like arc only. And who could come back if they really wanted to or whatever. But basically the DM had talked to them and said, "Oh, well, your character died last session. Do you want them to come back? You know, is that something that if that was a possibility, would you be okay with that? Or do you think that this is the end of their story?" Right? Because there is a bit of that where you do need to talk to the player and be like, "Hey, I took off your arm. Do you want that back?" or do you want to, you know, have that character just live and try to like succeed without that arm, you know? Because then it really just depends on what the players want, right? So I apologize for making it seem like, oh yeah, you just do it right then, because that is not my intention. Because yeah, like you said, it can feel a little cheap if you do that in a way of like, oh yeah, you lost your arm, fucking go get a new one, idiot. There you go.
Yeah. Fucking, you know what? He slaps the top of the car. This can fit a whole new robot arm.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the other thing, right? Depending on the world, even losing your arm might not even be that big of a deal, right?
It could be intentional.
It could be. It could be like, I lost my arm. Sick. Yes, I got a robot arm. You know,
Yeah.
like legitimately, there's stuff like that for sure as well. It really depends on the situation and everything. But regardless, if we're talking about D&D specifically, we have many things that can give you the arms back. And so having it be something that is an opportunity is something that I view it as more so than a detriment, I guess, a lot of the time, especially in context with the point that was brought up from this video. Excuse me, goodness. Vorpal originated from the same poem as Frabjus. That was the reference. Oh,
I did not know that.
I had no
I
idea.
did not know that either.
Well, good. Well, then, so take back what you said about Lewis Carroll.
I will not. Lewis Carroll sucks.
Oh my God. Okay.
I don't actually mean that. I take it back.
Yeah.
Is it Lewis or Louis?
It's Lewis, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Lou.
True. You can get past everything if you just make a nickname out of their name.
Yeah, Louis.
Against anything,
Yeah.
like even if they don't want it.
Lewis Carroll and I are friends.
Yes.
Why else? If we weren't, why would I be calling him Lou?
That's true. That's true. Have a mechanical arm made by a dwarf, kind of like Guts. Yeah, absolutely. You can.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, folks. This quest requires someone missing a limb. Player stabs out the other's eye. I specifically said limb.
Yeah. So I was like, what are you doing? That ain't a limb.
For example, to bring a deity back to life, a new mortal body, or a new mortal body, at least 40 high followers of that deity would need to cast resurrection at an altar to that deity. There you go. Yeah.
Like true resurrection, I imagine.
Yeah.
Or if it's a god.
Vorpal blades are supposed to go snicker snack, though. True. I think you guys mentioned something similar happening in one of your games. I think Boo was like a werewolf and you guys cured it. True. That is true.
That did happen, but that actually came about because of me wanting to do it.
Yes.
So basically I got in, like, very long story short, I got infected with vampirism and
werewolfism.
Werewolfitis.
There you go.
Yes. Werewolfitis.
Yes.
No,
yeah. I got infected werewolfitis, and my character was like, "Hey, werewolf, not fun. Don't want. How cure?"
Yes.
And then we went on a little bit of a trip to cure it. So because I saw what was going to happen. My character saw what would happen if I didn't get rid of it. So I'm like, I don't like that.
I felt like I didn't give you enough with it, but since your character did want it to go away,
Well, I mean, I did everything I could to get out of it immediately.
Yes, exactly. So
I
it made
kind of
sense.
denied you the ability to do it.
Yeah, and absolutely. I'm glad that it was at least something that you didn't feel like it was cheated from you, because you as a character were like, no.
Yeah, because like that was one of the things I asked. Like, if I go full, if I let it take me,
Yes,
will
that's
I
right.
be able to control it? And then you said no, so I'm like, yeah, okay, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
Then I would have been like,
it did, but you would have been like it turns you in like
yes, exactly,
mentally.
Mm-hmm. If I was able to control it and not become a mindless monster killing people, I probably would have let it happen.
Right.
But yeah, since it wasn't going to, I wanted to get rid of it.
Right. Exactly.
So you don't have anything to worry about that. I chose that.
Yes, true resurrection. There you go.
Yeah.
At least Lewis Carroll wasn't Charles Dickens, paid by the word dick. True. True. All right. Anyway.
It's difficult to get when we're talking about something that surrounds tables, because every single person's individual homebrewed table is going to have its own unique set of things that all individually have to be correctly balanced for their game. That's a big part of why I find them unappealing. You have to balance a whole table's worth of effects. And on top of the crit, you have this extra random element of rolling, and certain things on that table are going to be worse or better in certain situations, so it's just like even more random chance in a game, and I don't know, if you can't tell, I really dislike them.
I wonder, I guess I would love to ask the question about wild magic. How they feel about wild magic, you know? Because I love wild magic.
I think everybody does.
Most people do, but I wonder about it, you know?
So I feel, well, I don't know. I was gonna make a point of you only have to roll on the wild magic table if you play that specific subclass of sorcerer.
True.
And as such,
you're buying into
to
it.
Play that I'm sorry.
You're buying into it, kind of.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's the player choosing. Yeah, you know what? I will have this additional effect for when I crit fail a spell.
Sure.
However, if you are doing your job as DM, then you should ask people, hey, how do we all feel about crit tables?
Yeah. Exactly.
And that, I'm just now realizing, I've never played with a DM who actually asked me if I wanted to use crit tables.
They just had them.
Yeah. And I remember I was not a big fan of it when I first encountered it, precisely because of the reasons that we see in this video of if you're already behind, why make it worse?
Sure.
And I didn't like it upon my first encounter of crit tables, and I think that may have soured me in the future. Because I would absolutely come forward to my players of hey y'all, before this campaign begins, how do we feel about crit tables?
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I used them when we did Expedition to Castle Ravenloft, but that was because that precedence had already been set by our first DM. And he had given me his crit tables, which are from a Palladium book that he didn't actually make them. He just found them and used them, which he never told me. But hey, whatever. And the reason why they are the way that they are is because they're from a completely different system than D&D. But yeah, so
that might also explain some of the oddities that I found in some of those tables.
Yeah, exactly. You were a part of those.
News to me.
Yep. They're from I think it's just called the Palladium role playing game, or something like that. But yeah, you can find them. They're right there. You can see them. And
I don't think I will.
Yeah. Oh no, you don't have to. I mean, you remember them.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason why I use them in that game. And then since then, I haven't really felt the need, I guess. Like you said, like you were talking about, of doing the spirit of it rather than actually having the physical table. Like, it just works better for that. Whereas, like, something like Wild Magic, it really depends on the table is a big draw for that, right? It's really good for getting all of those random things, and really helps with putting the story forward in that way.
Yeah, I think the difference is the Wild Magic table is a feature of the class.
True.
Whereas I know how to tell a story. I don't need a table to tell me what story to tell.
True. Very true. Very true.
Sometimes people will just come up with a singular mechanic that happens when you crit fail, and one that I've seen crop up a lot is the idea that a crit fail provokes an attack of opportunity. Now, I want to dive into this one a little bit further, just because I do think it gets discussed as a nice alternative to critical fail tables. And I think it seems more reasonable on the surface, but I don't think it actually really is. First things first, I think it disproportionately imbalances melee characters for no real reason. The more attacks you make per turn, the greater your chances of rolling a 1. Spellcasters often aren't really rolling attacks at all, and when they do, and other ranged characters, they're usually just that, at a range where they can't provoke an attack of opportunity. Fighters, paladins, and the like, they need to be making plenty of attacks each turn to get through encounters, or at the very least have fun in them. That's what the class is designed to do. Swing your sword, do the thing.
I guess my question is, when people use these and have talked about using these, are they following the rules in the sense of reactions? Because you only get one reaction on your turn. That's it. Until you get your next turn, you don't have a reaction. So...
Yeah.
If it just it sounds to me, at least, like people just say, no, you get an attack of opportunity against you if you get a crit fail, which is like, okay,
that's a little much, because you're kind of forgetting that's a hard baked in rule. You don't really want to.
Yeah, the action economy is something you don't want to fuck with a lot of the time.
Yeah, I will say, Thomas, I was a big fan of the idea of opportunity attacks as an alternative for crit tables for, like, you rolled a nat 1, oh no, something bad happens to you. I really liked opportunity attacks because I was only considering, like, oh, the party has to make a jump over something, and you failed, and not only did you not only are you hanging onto the ledge, but, like, you've got a slash along your back from the bandit chief on the other side. But I hadn't really considered, like, day-to-day combat and how martials would be effective, so you've brought me on, Thomas.
Yeah, exactly.
I am also not a fan of opportunity attacks because it unfairly attacks marshals.
Yes.
I came up with this idea.
Also,
I'm glad we agree, Tom. I'm glad you agreed with me, Tom.
Yeah.
Yes, very good.
I play in and run, attacks of opportunity are not very common, and I think it's because attacks of opportunity are determined by the creature getting attacked. They're the ones that give the decision to allow other things to have an attack of opportunity against them by not choosing to disengage.
Exactly.
It's a little bit of a tactical decision. There is a choice being made, and it creates a sort of risk-reward scenario.
Yes.
If a player's surrounded by 4 creatures, they're probably not going to choose to provoke attacks of opportunity on their turn. It's pretty unlikely, because taking 4 attacks will seriously fuck you up. Provoking attacks of opportunity on a crit fail, though, is not a decision you get to make. It's just something that happens to you. And if you're surrounded like that, this can seriously fuck you up. All because you rolled a 1. Because you're trying to attack these creatures. You're trying to do the thing your class. The thing the entire game is designed for you to be doing. With every single swing to try and progress the fight in your favor, there's a 5% chance you progress it for the enemy. And 9 times out of 10, it's probably just going to apply to your frontliners. I think people often really underestimate how frequently people roll 1s and 20s. 5% does not sound like a lot on paper, but it really adds up with all the d20s people roll in a session.
True.
10% of all rolls, statistically, are going to be on one of these two extremes. That's 1 in 10 rolls. It's really not all that rare. If you want to add in additional crit rules and still maintain verisimilitude and fun and balanced gameplay, I think all these rules need a lot of tweaking and very, very careful consideration. It's easy to make crit benefits and detriments way too powerful, so, be careful with this, playtest some stuff, and work with your group to find the right amount of oomph that these crit fail and success tables should have. But if your group doesn't actually care about shit like that, and you think these tables are hilarious, then go buck wild. Have fun. Do quadruple damage. Chop off your own damn legs. Play the game your way. I just wanted to provide you with some alternate viewpoints so you can make sure you're adding in rules that your table loves. Specifically, your table. And you're not just tossing in rules that YouTubers and Redditors brought up because they think they're cool even though they might not have playtested them much.
Yes.
Well, I think that just about does it for your friendly neighborhood devil's advocate. Have fun.
I would love to discuss more videos in the future from this channel.
I
Holy
would
shit, that
too.
That was a fantastic video.
That was great. So good, actually.
I'm going out and subscribing.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's Thomas Fitch again, everybody.
Oh no, they only have 5 videos.
Oh, but I'm sure they'll make more.
When was
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, when was this one?
The oldest is 3 years ago, and the newest is 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay, that's quite a fucking spread. Holy hell.
Interesting. Okay.
3 weeks, 2 months, 2 months, 2 months, 3 years.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay, really picked up speed 2 months ago. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I really hope that Thomas creates more content. That's a great channel. Go.
Yeah.
Or at least that's a great video. Don't know about the other ones, but go. If that's anything to go off of, go. Go and subscribe. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
3.7k subscribers.
Very good. Okay.
Very good.
Um,
They have earned those.
Indeed. Now, that's it. Those are the videos. We did it. Wow.
We're done.
Well,
Bye.
wow. Yeah.
Now, leave now.
Wow.
Bye.
No. Okay. Whoa. Hey. Hold on. I haven't. Oh my God. But yeah. So great one to end off on. Very happy about that. Good work indeed. Funny and informative and respected you and your time and everything. And said this, do whatever you want for your table. That's great. That's what we fucking want to see. Thank you. Okay. So,
Hey, Boo, really quick before Alejo gets into the shill stuff.
well, I'm gonna read
Yeah.
comments, but yeah.
Okay. On the second shelf of the or you know what? By the mug. I'll just describe it that way.
Oh, up here.
By the mug, the white manga with the red bottom, is that Fire Force?
I think it's either Fire Force or Dragon Ball because I can see the you see how there's like a dark blue and then a white and then yellow? That kind of looks like shirtless Super Saiyan Goku.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
So it looks like Dragon Ball Z.
I've been trying to identify these manga.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
And-
can't tell, but
No.
that's the only one that's jumped out at me.
Well,
Interesting.
there you go. Okay.
Take us
Well,
through your manga collection, Thomas.
yes, please do it. All right. Well, I will of course extend the invitation to my lovely guests and hosts and everything. To if you want to, you can leave.
Yes, I shall be leaving.
Absolutely.
Well,
Go for it.
I shall also.
Okay. All right.
Goodbye.
All right,
Bye.
take it easy.
Goodbye.
I'll let you know another time if I've got time tomorrow for wait,
Today is
tomorrow's
Saturday.
Sunday,
Yeah,
never mind.
I will not.
you
have
were one to
time.
do payday on Monday, right?
And Monday. Yes, Monday.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
Yeah.
I'll find out.
What time is that happening? Monday?
that'll be when I get home from work. So, after 5 p.m. my time. So,
Okay.
2 p.m. your time, I think. So yeah, because
Yeah.
Brogan's gonna be streaming all that day. So if you hop the fuck in, we'll fucking do it, brother.
I am. Yeah, 2 p.m. until for how long would it be going
I have
on?
no idea. I will have to go to bed at some point because I will work the next day. Absolutely, but
Oh well, yeah, no, I didn't figure it'd take that long. You know what?
I don't know, dude. It's payday and I haven't played it in a long time, and I'm fine. And Brogan said he wanted to play, so I might stay up for a while if he'll have me.
I am as of yet unsure if I will be working Monday or not.
Okay.
They're doing a deep cleaning of the lab I work at.
Oh, okay.
And the options are take an unpaid day, take a PTO day, or like come in for a different shift.
Gotcha.
On that day. And I'm like, I don't really know if I want to wake up in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely fair. Okay.
So you know what? I will click the install button on Payday 2, and I will ruminate on this.
Okay. All right. Good to hear.
All right. Goodbye. Into the ether I retreat.
Okay. All right, everybody. It's time for comments. Let me move over here so that there we go. So that I can light up again. And all right. Good shit. So, we have some comments to go through. And then I'm going to go tell my cats that they need to stop doing shit to the house. Timothy on last week's episode says, "Hello bros, new lore. Title: Immortal Depression." Oh no. Let me just take a drink. Okay. Talthorn sat in his lair, his mind spinning, his once bright scales now almost unrecognizable, tarnished a sickly mossy green. The world seemed so far away, until a voice broke through. "Targasus, time is catching up with you, old friend." The dragon looked up to see the wise druid standing before him. Talthorn, "Why are you here?" Targasus, "Can't a student visit his old master?" "I guess you can, though I'm not in the mood for guests." "Oh, I can see that. You look insane, and your actions lately confirm that fact. Let me get to the point. What is wrong with you? The IMO has been down a manager for weeks, all because of Cornell, and this weapon you heard rumors about. This weapon you heard rumors about." Talthorn, "It's true," the dragon said in anger. Well, that woke you up. Now listen to me, and listen well. Either return to your post or quit and crawl into a ditch and die. The IMO and I will not put up with this nonsense any longer. I had to sit through a pointless meeting because of you, and I expect better from a so-called great worm. The dragon's eyes opened wide as he stood up. Talthorn, I had no idea you expected anything from anyone. This city was built on top of my home, but instead of throwing the settlers off a cliff, I let them do it, and even gave my time to the IMO from its founding. And that doesn't entitle me to time off for my own mental well-being. Advance notice would have helped, but you just ran off. Maybe I learned that from you, since you ran away without notice before. Or did you forget when Leroy had to track you down and drag you back here? So let me guess. The other two chairs made you come to talk to me about not showing up. Targasus, that and the letter you sent to the heads of the branches. It is impossible to arrest Cornell without going to war. Impossible, no. Impossible, no. Is that what they want? Oh, if that is what they want to use to get out of doing it, yes. Oh, is that what... Okay, yeah, I get... Okay. Is that what they want to use to get out of doing it? Yes. But I've already found another way to deal with this problem. And with Bahamut as my witness, I will not be trapped in a weapon forever. I understand your fears, but you need to cross bridges when you come to them instead of rash actions. Wait, did you say you found another way? Before Talathorn could answer, another voice rang out. Did I hear my name? They then saw the Platinum Dragon standing at the top of Talathorn's grand staircase. Bahamut. I hope I'm not intruding. Oh. Talathorn. Not at all. More or less, my lord. Targasus. My lord? You really are not yourself, are you? Oh. Oh, okay, yeah. Targasus said that to Talathorn. Gotcha. Bahamut. A very bold human, I see. Do you disagree with a metallic showing respect to their deity? Targasus. Not in general. It's just out of character for this metallic in particular. He doesn't give respect to anyone if he can help it. Bahamut. Fair enough. I must really be important, he said with a grin. Getting back on topic, I am here for a good reason. This other way, as you put it, has hurt a few of my followers, caught in the crossfire. I can't let that continue. Targasus. If you don't mind me asking, what has Talathorn been up to? Bahamut. The actions are being committed by this copper's partner in crime, but since it was Talathorn's idea, he gets the warning. Talathorn. I do what I must. Anything in the crossfire are not harmed by design. Bahamut. Intentions do not matter. Your actions hurt my followers, and therefore you have angered me. Talathorn. If I do nothing, Cornell will also hurt your followers. Pick your poison, my lord. Bahamut. I've talked with Cornell before the tournament, and if I need to, I will deal with him. But right now, you are the headache, my dear Copper. If you harm anyone else under my banner, you will force my hand, and I will not warn you twice. Talathorn. If you allow Cornell to make his weapon, or become a deity, he will be a far bigger headache than I ever will. I promise you that. Bahamut just smiled back. Targasus. Bahamut, is this weapon even possible? Bahamut. A weapon made from the souls of great worm dragons is indeed a possibility. Cornell was not the first to think of the idea, but he might be the first to make it happen. The road will be long and hard, but I believe he will do it. The weapon will also have drawbacks no other has. Great power has a cost, and Cornell will find that out. I need not say anything to him. Pain will be his teacher. As for you, Talathorn, remember my words, or my own legendary weapon will be the last thing you will ever see, as the great Platinum Dragon left. Well, that's all I got. Have a nice day. Thank you. I need to go check on my cats. They have made too many noises all at once, and it's not good. Hold on. Hey. So I honestly have no idea how they keep finding rocks, but I think they were from, like, a plant that I had that they killed. Anyway. Alright. Rico, on the same episode, says, I think what Guy was trying to do with the AI stuff was a more video game-esque NPC routine, but I don't think it works well considering how involved the DM still is in his framework. Excuse me. Also, I never thought of beholder layers that way, and now I want to write a world with a beholder whose layer is inspired by Relativity by MC Escher. That would be sick. Yeah, I get that. I get that's what he was trying to do with the AI quote-unquote stuff. I don't know. It seems like language that is only used really to like promote the video more, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I get that you need to, get people to click and watch the video and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. It didn't seem like it was relevant enough to really like be used as a point. I don't know. If he wanted to do his piece for OGAS, as he put it. There's a better clickbaity way that isn't so clickbaity, you know? At least I think. So I don't know. It is what it is at the end of the day. You got to get people to watch your stuff. For the plant, indeed. I actually really like that plant. Anyway, Shin on last week as well. I don't know what the world ending means in the context I've established. I wouldn't really mind so much if it's literal, but there are a lot of metaphorical possibilities that I don't want to deal with right now, so I guess I'd better pull something together. So here it is. Clickbait aside, my main criticism of Guy's video would be that the OGAS idea doesn't need to be just be applied. Doesn't need to just, I assume, be applied to NPCs. Occupation, attitude, goal, and stake are 4 points that you could pretty well pull any character together from. True. I suppose for the basic dungeon crawling character, 3 of those points would already be decided, though. True. Occupation, adventurer. Goal, get treasure from dungeon. Stake, if you die, you mess up. You die if you mess up, or you just don't get some money that you could have gotten, maybe. Depends on how it goes. True. But if you go for something more advanced than a basic adventurer, then you can start tweaking those 3 answers. Of course, stake is pretty much decided by the circumstances you're dropped into, so it's more something you recognize than create yourself. Also, when I said this was my main criticism, I didn't mean it was the worst thing about the video, but rather that it was the first thing I could think of to say. In other words, I lied. That's the comment. Good night. Thank you, Shin. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that there's a better way to communicate what he's going for. And it's annoying to me whenever there's the clickbait that's used. And that was 3 years old, that video. It's not even in the heyday of AI being used as the topic that it is today, you know? So, I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way, really, because it's just like, yeah, okay. I don't know. Personality, right? You can make a personality for your characters by creating those characters and using that method or whatever method you want to just make them as deep as you want them to be, right? That's just how it is. Anyway. So, that's it. We did it. That's comments and stuff. I guess at the end of the day here, Bahamut's warning had a clue in it. Oh, okay. I'll reread it later. But yeah, so I guess it's time. One trick to create easy NPCs. Yeah, that's such a better clickbaity title because it actually works. Fuck. Anyway, so we have a Patreon. If you want to join it, the Patreon is over here. The TableTalk crew, patreon.com/the TableTalk crew. You can go and do that if you want. As well as Ko-fi over here, same kind of things. Ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com /the TableTalk crew. Both are in the description. Big thank you goes out to our current table flippers, that being Draco Kraken, Rick, aka Rico, and Steely up in tier 4. Appreciate you very much. Thank you. Big time, of course, for all your contributions. Thank you to Crimson Rose, also in tier 2. Thank you, a big thank you to you. And, of course, a thank you goes out to our tier 1 contributors. Again, links in the description. Only join and support us financially if you wish to. It's not an obligation, so do what you want. I can't tell you what to do. I'm not your dad. T-shirts, other things that you can find over on TeePublic. We still have the horror logo going on. I'll get rid of it once we're past Thanksgiving, because the horrors that ensue for those. Oh gods. If only we could get past the horrors that those ensue. But yeah, go get what you want there. And whatever, it's up to you. Apparently there's a sale going on for a day and some time, so there you go. And obviously, if you wish to you can go over to our website, which I still need to completely do some stuff to. Go over to the Support Us page, go through all the things that I have talked about and will talk about, and of course, see our custom dice. 97 sets left. Oh my god, you're running out of time if you wish to buy some. Otherwise, they're getting bought. So yeah. Or they're getting earned, excuse me, from the Garabingo as well. So, hold out hope that you might win a Garabingo when we do it, if you want to get them for free. But anyway, that's another thing. And I will say, I will shout out Humble Bundle, though we are currently not financially supported by them, we are still partnered with them, hoping to get that email so that I can actually make it so that the link works again. Though they are changing how it works, so I don't know how financially supportive it'll be for us, which is not a problem, don't get me wrong. I'm fine with that if it goes more towards the charity and the developers and stuff, that's okay. But I just don't know, I don't know how it works entirely. But yeah, as long as you're out there getting what you want to get, when you want to get it, and supporting charity as well as developers of games, and having it so that you don't necessarily need to have Steam, or you can still have things on Steam if you want, or other things, or getting bundles for books and stuff, which I'm seeing there's a Pathfinder bundle for the remaster celebration right there. Looks like is this the new 2nd edition? I think so. Is it? I don't actually know. Hold on. Yeah, 2nd edition. Okay. I don't know if this is new 2nd edition or old 2nd edition, but it is 2nd edition, so if you want to get some adventures and stuff, and the core books, go over there and get it. 72 things for $30? Well, there you go. Anyway. Yeah, so go check out Humble Bundle. We are not currently financially supported by them. But regardless, they got a lot of cool shit. So, Warhammer Fantasy is there for another 4 days, if you're into that as well. The G.I. Joe role-playing game seems to have popped off as well. And 7th Sea is also there, if you wish to look into some pirate stuff. So, hey, go check it out. Anyway, I guess AI was in the thumbnail, not the title, but it was still there and prominently displayed. Plus, he said it in the actual thing. He did say it in the video, like 3 times, just to like pepper it in. So I don't know, man. Just do what you want, think what you want about it. So, yeah, Oh, hello.
Hey, I got 2 more days off in a row.
Oh,
I have a
cool.
9-day vacation.
Oh,
like, holy shit.
There you
go. Are you busy tomorrow or no?
I'm going to be doing
I know
editing mostly tomorrow because I need to.
Okay,
I haven't been doing it in a while.
Do you think you would be down to edit while I play some Pokemon?
I would need to listen to the edits and stuff. It's going to be an intensive thing rather than me being able to do other things because I'm doing it for Vampire and also Delta Green and such. So I need to put in music and shit.
Just thought I'd offer.
Yeah, no, I get you, man. If I have some time after, or if I'm feeling it after, I'll let you know. But yeah,
and then I will see you on Monday for payday.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes, for sure. Okay, cool.
Yes. All right. See ya.
Okay, everybody. That's it. I'm not lighting up anymore. But I'm telling you right now, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. We'll see you next week for more Table Talk, discussion, and discourse. That is not something that I've ever done, I don't think. But regardless, hey, thanks for being here. Like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. You know the free things that you can do to help support us. You know. You already know. You're at the end here. You've known this for a long time, okay? And even if you weren't here for a long time, and you are at the end here, you already know. You've been on YouTube once or twice. Or, if you're brand new, I'm sure you could figure it out. You're smart. Alright, I'm gonna go. Bye.